Did you hear that? There, it's on. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Village of Waukesha. This is a meeting of the Village Board on Thursday, June 25th, 2020, beginning at 6 p.m. We are called to order at 6 p.m., and I would ask that you rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, thank you. Roll call, please, Kathy.
President Fisher?
Here.
Trustee Durr?
Here.
Trustee Stigler?
Here.
And Trustee Kalinsky and German are absent.
I did hear from Trustee Kalinsky this afternoon. He has a work-related conflict. He advised me he would not be here at the start of the meeting, and depending on how long the meeting goes, he may or may not join us before we conclude. So we have three of us here. We do have a quorum, I believe, by definition. Anybody take exception to that? I think we've got a quorum with three. Agree?
That's right.
All right. Item 4 is open meeting law compliance check. The agenda was posted on the 3 village notice boards, the village website, and distributed to all news media requesting notification in accordance with the open meeting laws on or before Tuesday, June 23rd, 2020. Kathy, is that an accurate statement?
No, we had the media and everyone that had an email subscription was sent their notification on the 24th before noon.
All right. And just even for the note, this is an amended agenda, which was amended on
The 23rd.
the 23rd on Tuesday. Okay. Item 5 is announced closed session. You are hereby notified that the Village Board of the Village of Waukesha will convene and may, upon motion duly made and seconded and acted upon by roll call vote, as required under Wisconsin Stats 1985 1C, go into closed session during the course of the meeting. Village Board members may attend the closed session. The purpose of the closed session will be as follows: to confer with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, specifically to discuss City of Waukesha versus Village of Waukesha. And I would note that Attorney Riffle is present with us this evening. I think we all knew that Attorney Macy would not be here. With that said, is there a motion to go into closed session for the purpose described?
I'll move to go into closed session. Second.
Okay, so the motion to go into second is made by Trustee Stigler, second by Trustee Durr. A roll call vote, please.
President Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Stigler?
Aye.
Trustee Durr?
Aye.
Okay, we are in closed session at 6:05. The hope and intention is that we will be out before 6:30, so we'll see. Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing it. I had done all that I could.
Yeah.
It had gotten so high, in fact, it was tall. You can come sit with me.
No, I'm gonna, I gotta talk to Chris. and see if
Okay.
we can- It was up on, sounds good, let me know.
Now you can relax for a while. You've been out.
I thought it started at 6:30.
Well, they're in closed session already.
Yeah, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, so I missed the pledge of allegiance. Oh, well.
Yeah. Well, they changed it. Hopefully they can get everything in before 10 o'clock
I hope so.
when I go home.
Yeah. Sounds like they got a pretty big agenda tonight, you know?
I noticed that, besides having this closed session. But it's just a plan commission everything. I was wondering if Mike was gonna be here tonight, Orchard.
I think he will be, but I think he might have thought it was at 6:30 too.
Oh. Yeah, that's right, we got a report too. Weed commission.
I think it's just a written report. It doesn't really-
Right?
It's just a written report, so I don't think it's the
Yeah. Just write it out. be out of it, but. But the president
Oh,
is in town. And we have to, both,
oh, is that the mayor, that money?
they didn't get the fire. And we just put up a third site on this side. You can stick it on there. You can go with that, that's what I remember. You got one up, and I guess stick the one on this side, then you finish the one on this building.
What's that?
Open seat?
Yeah.
Where you go?
Hey, you doing, sir? Hi. Well, I thought it started at 6:30. I think we only wanted to go closed session there right away, so.
They're in a closed session.
I'm sorry?
They're in a closed session.
I knew that we were gonna,
Yeah.
6:30. Oh,
Well, it's hard to say,
Okay.
It didn't matter anyway.
until they decide when they come back. Yeah, but the meeting actually started at 6:00.
Yeah, I saw the agenda and I talked to Brian. He said, hopefully by 6:30 we'll be out. So it's not expecting a lot of folks here. Is everybody there? For different reasons or?
Some come just to listen.
Yeah, I said, oh, that's crimped together.
Been doing it for many years.
Like to keep on the know.
Uh-huh. No, I was on the Board of Appeals and I retired from that. And I've been forward, so.
Yeah, I've seen you down here.
Oh, yeah.
You were in the S aisle last year, I think, I forget.
No. Well, I'm not sure.
We're Sullivan.
Could be, which before.
No, just when I come down Broad.
Oh,
But last year I came down and voted early.
oh, yeah, we did too.
I kind of figured that too. It looked like the same one. No, it's like they're cross-eyed. It was hard to find.
Physical readings for not trying to do it on the election.
Yeah, stand in line. Free parking.
Yeah. Is there something coming up?
It was hard to find. It was one spot to start.
Yeah, we're affected by some drainage issues.
So it's
Oh, we're in one of that group that you and I were affected with the gutters and stuff.
Yeah, the culverts.
Culverts.
Not draining, they're showing up. We can't blow it.
That's hard.
We're up at angles and muck, 10 feet outside our door, comes back there.
Well, you got obvious when it's spray. Yeah, most of them do that.
So hopefully they can figure out what the issue is. And,
Yeah, he can fix it.
yeah, he was out with us, so that's good.
He came out with our whole group.
I was out on the tour. Yeah, I saw those. Which residence do you live at again? I don't.
I'm sorry?
What residence do you live at?
We're on Glendale, on that corner circle, where the culvert wasn't on the spreadsheet. We had catch up on the backyard.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
And that wetland from creeping into our backyard. We did so wide. Big four culverts.
Yeah, so, yeah. And we clean out in front of that little, I don't think that's your problem.
You know, they did cause an issue.
No.
Because I know when we moved in there, all four of those were flowing. Now maybe three of them, one might have flushed. And now I threw some leaves over the side the other day. We're gonna get flow out of one now.
I mean, look at it again, but I know there's a like a tree.
Yeah,
decided to work for you, and that's where it needs to go. So we need to get up there yet, but well, I don't know what they're planning to do, but I would go up and expose that end. And I did this a couple of years back, I went out and I did that, I exposed it, and I dug a hole as far as I could reach also, at least it would, eventually it dissipate, hopefully not. You guys can, on your side, if you can, maybe cut some of that buckthorn back and keep that.
That can be here cleaning that out,
Yeah.
but it's still flowing.
Yeah, it's probably needs to be washed out.
And,
That's gonna help, I'm not saying it's
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
dry up completely.
I really think that, something be done with the four main culverts and each side of our culvert. And I can take care of the high end of the deal. We should be able to get enough out of it for the easement on ours. I know it's gonna be wet on that here.
Yeah, it's always too wet down here.
Okay, we are back in open session after the conclusion of our closed session. We're back in session at 6:28 p.m. and we will resume with our agenda. Item 6 is discussion and possible action on items discussed in closed session. Anything on that needs to be discussed in open session, Mike or Bob? Okay, so there's nothing for item 6. Item 7, communications with village residents. I don't have anything specific, but Kathy, maybe you just ought to, just real quickly, tell people where we're at with next election and so forth. Can you just give a real quick overview on that?
Sure. We are starting to put out our absentee ballots that were requested for the August 11th election. On July 27th, we will start our in-office absentee balloting. This is a this is a primary election. So it's important to remember that when you fill out your ballot, that you not only check the party preference you have, but then choose the candidates that you are voting for as well. In the past, you used to be able to just do a straight party ticket. That's not allowed to do that. Remember, you have to stay in one party. You cannot go from one party and cross over to the other party, or that ballot will not count. So I keep that in mind.
Okay.
Also, I do have one other thing I'd like to mention, that the offices are closed on July 3rd for observance of July 4th. Also, July 4th lands on a Saturday, which means our brush area will not be open. That's it. That's all I got.
Okay, thanks. Why don't you just do one real quick one, and we've done this before, but just advise people here or watching on YouTube about the best way to get communications from the village.
So the best way would be to sign up for our email notifications. We're having some difficulty getting that through right now. But if you go to townofwaukesha.us, then sign up for go to the document center, then sign up for the email notifications. Every time I put something in the news blast area or a agenda, you should be notified of that. An email would be sent to you. This is not abused. You're not going to get one every day. It's only when we think something is important enough to get out to you.
Okay, last thing, just a quick thing. The meeting that we had 2 weeks ago on June 11th, we had a malfunction that Meeting was not on YouTube Live, nor is it in the town YouTube library. That was not captured, so that'll simply remain with the minutes. Okay, item 8, citizens' comments. Anybody who'd like to address the village board, please come forward, give us your name, address, and get up close and personal to the microphone. And just a quick one, not to interrupt you, because you may be going some other direction, but if anybody is wanting to speak about item 11F, about the drainage issues, we'll give you an opportunity to speak then. And I don't mean to preempt you. You may have something more important to say, so go ahead.
I do not. It is about item 11.
Okay, you'll get a chance to be the star of the show when we get there on the agenda, okay? All right. Any other citizens' comments, please?
Sandy Hom, West 230, South 3827 Milky Way Road. I have a number of small things here, and then I will speak later on the drainage. I was hoping tonight we could find out when you do proceed with the, whatever they're called, labels that go on the address signs, the decals, who's going to pay for those. I had a question about the document center. The packet is labeled at the document center as the 23rd of June. I don't know whether that date is the date it was posted or the date that the meeting is for, but this meeting is dated the 25th, so it's confusing when you look at it. You think that the packet is for a different evening. We have quite a few operators licenses tonight. I certainly would not be a proponent of doing something because the city does it, but the city did, in the last month, change their policy to be that the operators' licenses are just handed out by the clerk and not taken up by the board, and that does sound like a good idea. I think that's all I need to say before we get to the drainage issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Who else would like to speak? Please come forward. Okay, if there are none others, we'll move along. We've got a long agenda. Item 9 is minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes. We'll take those separately, but the first set is the meeting of May 28th, 2020, which I believe was a village board meeting. The 3 of us were present. Comments, motion on the meeting minutes of May 28th, 2020. Any corrections? Are you prepared to act?
Move to approve. Second.
All right, motion by Trustee Stigler, seconded by Trustee Durr to approve the minutes of the meeting of May 28th, 2020. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So that passes 3-0. Now the minutes of June 17th, 2020. That was just even as a reminder, that was the kind of the on-the-road meeting from a week ago, Wednesday night, when the entire village board visited 13 and some staff people, 13 properties in the village of Waukesha here. And I would just make one comment on those, and then we can look to action. Under the adjournment part of it, and Kathy asked me about that, if both of you remember, we actually adjourned at the last stop at the Desai residence. I believe that was approximately 8:40 p.m. I told her I quite thought, Mike, you made the motion. I was a little uncertain as to who seconded it, and it shows as trustee German. Did we verify that, or does anybody have a different recollection?
That's my recollection.
Okay, so you're good with that? Okay. Any action discussion on the meeting minutes of June 17th, 2020?
I move to approve.
I'll say. Okay, no, go ahead, that's fine. So the motion by Trustee Stigler, seconded by Trustee Durr to approve the minutes of the special board meeting of June 17th, 2020. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 3-0. Item 10, 3-0. Pardon me. Item 10, reports. Clerk Treasurer Kathy.
Right, so the general fund revenues, I'm having trouble with focusing right now, so 2,110,000. It's about 80% of our revenues for general fund, and then our expenditures are 1,220,000, which is 46% of our expenditures in the general fund. Our fire inspection revenues, we did not receive any at this point, so there's been no change. Our expenditures are 9,000. Our capital fund revenues are 374,000. Our capital expenditures are $29,822, and our border protection for 2020, I just put this on here so then you had some knowledge of how much we've spent on our border protection. In 2020, we've at this point spent $58,000, and our border protection in 19 was $87,000. Our bank account, our Sunset CD has matured. I had the check sent out and closed out that CD that was still in the town of Waukesha's name and the old chairman, so we are going to be able to talk about that at another meeting on where you'd like that deposited. Our Waukesha money market is $2,200,000, and our Associated Bank's money market is $259,000. Landmark Credit Union at $156,000, and Citizen Bank CD at $265,000, and then finally our First Federal Bank CD at $233,000. And just as a reminder, I give you the accounts, the bank accounts, and where they all are every December and every June. That's why you don't see this on every report. For the clerk, we've had some public records requests. Mr. Smith had 4 requests concerning Tyler Technologies, and we have responded to those. We started working on absentee ballots, as mentioned before, and we are currently sending out 1,432 absentee ballots. We started working on that today. We have there are 7 entities on our non-compliance report. 3 are in court, 1 is in compliance, and 1 will be discussing requests for an extension today. We are preparing our poll workers for the August election, setting up a hearing for Board of Review. We have 7 hearings that we'll be discussing. Working on finding of facts and determination for the Board of Review hearings. Working on changing out the town to the village. I need to send out letters to all the entities I've got mentioned on my report, and then also I have I spoke with Stretch about changing our town sign to village and seeing what those costs. I'll bring that back to the board for later discussion. The census will continue with our current name as Town of Waukesha due to the fact that it happened after April. And we do now have our new FIPS code and our new DOR code. That's my report.
Okay, any questions of Kathy?
Regarding the non-compliance report, the last time we looked at this, I had some questions about pending issues that were not on the report that had not been addressed as of yet. And I believe at the time Chairman, now President Fisher, you had committed to put a report together on those pending and the status. Do we have that?
No, but I will do that if you want for the next meeting.
I
Okay.
appreciate that. Thank
Okay.
you.
Any other questions of Kathy? Just a quick one. Anybody in the back of the room? We've got some high-priced seats courtside up here. Come on up if you would like. You're welcome. Next report would be the fire department report. Chief Buchholz?
Month of May, we had 43 ambulance requests. We had no vehicle accidents and 8 fire responses. Mutual aid was given 4 times, and we received mutual aid 10 times. 8 of those were paramedic exchange. 1 member returned from leave of absence in May. We have 2 people on leave of absence, 38 active members, secretary treasurer. We had 1 cadet who left our program in May, leaving us 3 high school cadets. One of those, well, she has graduated now, and she's applied for probationary membership. COVID protocols are remaining in place in May, and they will continue for the foreseeable future. Many of our meetings are Zoom related, and we're continuing to encourage folks to practice good hygiene and social distancing. We did participate in 1 fire prevention, fire safety parade in May, and fire inspections are continue to be postponed. We did get word from the state they will probably start in July. The new fire truck, or grass fire truck, was ordered. There's a 150 to 190 day estimated delivery date, and then it'll go to be fitted with the skid and electronics and lettering and such.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of Chief Buchholz? Currently none, thank you. Public Works, Jerry Noli. Good evening.
Good evening. This report is for May and June, as we didn't have meetings in May. So in those 2 months, the Public Works Department installed 6 driveway culverts. 2 of them were new construction. 4 of them were remove and replace. We worked on a lot of tree and brush cutting. Our road paving has been completed, so we shouldered both Beheim and Glengarry Road. We also put a shoulder on Glendale Road through the swamp where it had dropped off, so took care of that. We worked on grounds maintenance, got the ball field ready for the season. We pretty much completed our first round of roadside mowing, sprayed bridge rails for vegetation. We worked on signs, responded to resident concerns, quite a bit of vehicle and equipment maintenance. Our chipper was down for 3 weeks for a pretty extensive repair. That unit is a 1992, so it's got a couple years on it. So we spent a couple bucks on that. Our Kubota lawnmower, which is also a 1998, that was down. We had parts back ordered for that, so we had to rent a 0-turn mower a couple of weeks to maintain the grounds around here. Truck number 17, one of our newer plow trucks, is in for sandblasting and paint on its box. We took some parts from truck 16 and threw it in there, so we'll get that touched up and keep our 2 of our newest trucks hopefully looking good and maintained. That's basically it.
Okay, any questions of Jerry? All right, then we'll move on. Thank you. Next is the sheriff's report. Is there anybody here in the back of the room from the sheriff's department, or not so much? Okay, you've got a written report in the packet. Any comments or questions about that we maybe wouldn't be able to answer anyway? Okay, then we'll move on. Weed Commissioner Mike Borchert, you want to present your report or answer any questions?
Based on what we had talked about originally, I don't have a copy in front of me. You have a copy in your packet just to keep you informed of the complaints that are out there and what's going on. They are getting resolved. I turned in the report on Monday, and since Monday, I've had 3 additional complaints which have been addressed already. Each complaint gets inspected, photographed, paperwork written up, and the photographs and the paperwork are submitted to Clerk Treasurer Kathy Nicholas. She has it on file, so everything's going along quite well there. The additional item that I put in there, your report, was I've received 4 separate calls regarding neighboring trees hanging on to another property. And that's more or less from private property to private property. We do not have a specific ordinance for that. The only ordinance that addresses that is if the tree is diseased, and then that would be covered or taken care of by the DPW. And my suggestion to the board would be to adopt, or just basically adopt Wisconsin state statutes, which basically say, if you have a neighbor's tree hanging on your property, you have the right to trim it or cut it up to your lot line as long as you don't kill the tree. One lady was very concerned because there were a lot of branches actually hanging onto her garage roof. And I said, well, right now, we don't have an ordinance for that. And I just suggested to talk to her neighbor in writing, talk to her insurance company, and maybe contact an attorney. But as far as the village was concerned, there was nothing that we could really do to assist her. So it's getting to be a more common problem, and I think it'd be a good idea for the board to put it on the agenda to discuss it. And if you do adopt a ordinance that specifically addresses it for trees hanging over onto another property, I would like to see where the property owner that owns the tree that's hanging over is responsible for cutting it. It shouldn't be the burden of the property owner that has the tree branches hanging onto. And that's the biggest issue we have right now. And the other thing related to that, if you did create an ordinance to address that specifically, I'd be willing to, if you approved it, add that on to the weed commissioner responsibilities. Because I know the building inspector is very busy, Jerry's very busy with the DPW, and we're only talking, you know, if I got a half a dozen calls a year maybe, but at least there would be an outlet or a resource for the village residents to address these problems. And I think it's the responsibility of the board and all the town officials to do whatever we can to assist our residents with these issues. So, does anyone have any questions?
I do, if it's all right.
Go.
So if this is already codified in state law, why would we as a town board want to insert ourselves into the middle of a neighbor?
It's no different than the noxious weeds. We have noxious weeds on our ordinance, and all it's doing is copying the state statute, basically. So here we'd be doing the same thing, basically.
Being a proponent of less government, then would be more inclined to take that out than add something more.
I mean, I just think it made a lot of sense to add it on there and give the residents an outlet to deal with it. Because anyone I talk to, they don't realize that there's a state statute out there for it.
Right.
They're gonna rely on the village to assist them with the problem.
If I could suggest, because this is basically a report, at this point in time, would there be any objection, or would it make sense to put this on a future agenda? I mean, we would certainly need Attorney Macy to weigh in. Is there any objection to that, and pick up the discussion at that time? Is that acceptable? Then let's do that, because we're not here.
I'm kind of on board
to
with what
debate.
Mike said, because I know we have issues with all our properties and stuff too. We just cut the brush if it's hanging over on our property, but I'm talking residents here, maybe there's something different. I don't know, I'm willing to listen to something else, I guess, if we want to move on and discuss it another time.
You okay with that, Mike, if we put that on the agenda and let Attorney Macy weigh in on it? Okay, then we'll conclude that at that point in time tonight.
All right.
Thank you for your report.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, item number 11 then is discussion and possible action items. Item A is discussion and possible action on hiring Christy DeMaster, Trilogy, Inc. on TIF work. If I'm not mistaken, she's in the audience tonight. Come forward, please. And I think everyone should have a copy of a written proposal that you prepared. Do you want, you or Kathy or someone want to tell us what this is all about, please?
Kristen?
I'm prepared to give you some remarks or thoughts on this and what I've proposed for you. Just to
You are or are not prepared?
I
didn't.
am, I am,
Oh,
yeah.
all right, good, then go.
Okay. So just to back up a little bit and kind of give you just briefly all the kinds of things that you're going to need to do on an ongoing basis as you start to implement this project plan, and then I'll focus in on what I was proposing to assist with. So the next thing is just to get the base value of the district certified. Once the 2020 assessed values are available, those can be sent into the Department of Revenue. So that's kind of the last housekeeping item as far as getting the TID established. Then on an ongoing basis, you'll have to do an annual financial report that will be filed with the Department of Revenue, and then also meet with the Joint Review Board before July 1st each year to review the status of the TIF district. And then there's some future auditing requirements that won't come into play for a while yet. But in terms of practical terms, as far as what the village will have to do on an ongoing basis, your responsibilities under statute are when someone requests TIF assistance to help fund their development or redevelopment project, there's kind of two things there that you have to do. One is that you'll have to enter into a development agreement with them before any dollars are provided to assist with their project. And then number two is you have to continue that ongoing review process with each of these projects to make sure that they meet that but-for test, that the project truly needs to have TIF assistance to move forward. So my proposal to the village is to essentially act as a TIF consultant on an as-needed basis, similar to your village planner or village engineer. And I talked about this a little bit with Kathy, just kind of how this process would work. And what I'm envisioning is that it would kind of flow the same way as your other development review processes, where you would have an application for TIF assistance. There would be an initial consultation. I understand right now you do that with a village planner. So if it's a project that involves TIF assistance or request for that assistance, then I would be involved in that consultation as well. And then I would review the application and advise the village as to things like, you know, is this feasible financially? Is the value of the project that they're proposing going to generate enough TIF increment to meet the assistance that they're looking for? How much of this assistance is really needed? Is this a valuable, beneficial project in terms of what they're planning to use the TIF assistance for? What kind of terms are they looking for, and are those reasonable and to the benefit of the village and the TID and those kinds of things? And then I would also be involved in helping write the portion of the development agreement that deals with TIF assistance. And that could be done presumably in most cases just as part of a, you know, the development agreement that you would normally require, but it would have an added section in there related to TIF assistance. And also, I kind of backing up here a little bit, but you know, write a report with my recommendations to the village as far as whether or not you should move forward with the TIF assistance and under what terms. Similar, like you would have a planning report for and an engineering report for other types of development. So that's kind of what I'm envisioning, that I would be there on an as-needed basis. One other thing that I didn't include in here specifically, but this could kind of come under this purview as well. I guess you should probably decide who will be the point person that somebody can go to if they have questions about the process for applying for TIF assistance before they've actually put the application in. And that could be something I could assist with as well, depending on how much assistance you're willing to provide potential applicants before that process. So I guess that's kind of the quick high-level overview. Happy to take any questions.
Just a half step back. Words on this may be common knowledge to many people in the room or watching on YouTube, but Christy DeMaster was a huge helpful resource to the town in our incorporation effort. You worked with us long and hard since what, mid to late summer last year, basically up and through almost the time that we got to that incorporation vote. Without her help and assistance in that, we probably wouldn't have been successful. So that was good news for the then town, now village. So I want to acknowledge that and thank you for that. What we do have in front of us, you were just kind of outlining your letter dated June 24th, 2020, that's addressed to Kathy. I mean, that was the essence of what you proposed, and it would be to retain principals, which would include you at Trilogy Consulting, on and hourly rate base $110 per hour as needed for the types of services you described, right?
Yes, that's
So
correct.
that's the essence of it. Questions or other discussion or whatever, go ahead.
Yeah, is there a time frame on this that you're proposing? Is it just as needed and then serve at the pleasure of the board if things go awry 10 years down the road, we're done? Or are we
That's what I-
tied into
yeah.
a certain, like a 5-year contract or something there?
No, I was purely envisioning this as an as-needed basis and, you know, at will, and if you have any reason to be, you know, unhappy with my services at any time, of course.
Yeah, no, I gotta go along with Brian. I agree with what you've done in the past. I'd be willing to go along with you again.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to accept the proposal from Trilogy to retain them as a TIF consultant.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded by trustee Durr and trustee Stigler respectively. Any discussion? I'll just make one comment under discussion. I think I kind of heard you volunteer to kind of be a point person or person of first contact. As to the other board members, I'm comfortable with that as long as we don't have people knocking on the door, running up a great big bill of your time at our expense. So, I mean, I'm okay with that, but I think you got to exercise some judgment on that, which I'm sure you could. Are both of you comfortable with that?
Yep.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, then the motion was made and seconded to approve the proposal for TIF consulting services in accordance with the letter of June 24th, 2020 from Christine DeMaster of Trilogy Consulting LLC. Any further discussion? If not, we will proceed to vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 3-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
President,
Okay.
President Fisher,
Yes.
I'd like to ask if I could add Christie's information on our MOUs like we do for our engineer, our attorney, and our planner, so our fees
Yeah.
are right out there for our
Yeah,
future.
which I think ties into that, and maybe just even run through that for people. I mean, is initial contact or consultation is on us, but after that, the people, or it's get-go from start one would
It's
be for
get-go,
them?
yes.
Okay, well, that would control that issue. Everybody understand that? Are you comfortable with that? Put it on the MOU, so
Yep.
anybody who's seeking it, it basically would be the village getting reimbursed for the services she provides? Okay, I don't think we need a formal motion on that, do we?
Nope.
We're good, okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Item 11B is discussion possible action on a request from Michael Newberger for a 10-day extension, parens July 5, 2020, close parens, to remove an RV located at S39 W27843 Genesee Road.
I'll make a
Someone-
motion to grant that extension.
Is there, just, I mean, is it this definitely, that we don't need to have him here?
All right,
I looked at it, I don't see what 10 days is gonna.
No, I agree with you, Mike. I'll second the motion.
okay, is someone here representing Michael Newberger? Or is he here? All right.
Yes, sir. Michael Newberger, my son Robert, my caregiver.
Okay. Do you have anything that you'd like to share with us tonight?
I've been trying for 9 months to get the man to leave. And he's come up with something every 2 weeks. So I'm hoping that he will leave. I told him he had to because of the non-compliance letter from the village. And I don't know what else to do.
If I'll just add, so I don't know the story behind the situation, but you understand that you're asking for a 10-day extension to January 5th, of which I have no problem of. We have granted much
July.
more. July, I'm sorry, what did I say?
January.
Oh, July.
Please don't give him that much.
No, I understand.
No, he claimed he couldn't leave earlier because of the COVID
Right.
restrictions, and first he was going to a RV park where he supposedly paid a month's rent but wouldn't open until July. Then he was moving to a farm that he was taking over from an uncle, and now he's moving to a house in Waukesha. He's a total BSer.
My only point was is that if on the 6th he's still there, from the board's point of view, it's a problem for you, not him. So I hope this is a crutch that we can help you solve your problem.
Yes.
I
yes.
hope it is.
Yeah.
But you can emphatically tell him that on the 6th, the fines will start.
And what is the amount of the fine?
$50 a day.
$50 a day.
I guess just backing up half a step farther, Newberger, I think you remember I was out in October. Is that the same party that's been living there all this period of time?
Yes, he was involved in a motorcycle accident in South Dakota on his way to Sturgis and came back, and since he and his girlfriend are veterans, they were asked if they could stay for 2 weeks while they received treatment at the VA. And it's just gone on from one thing to another.
So these are friends or acquaintances of yours, or what? Do you know these people, or did you before they moved in on your property?
I took him in homeless. He was a friend of my son's. And then several months later, he acquired an RV and asked if we could park it there for a week or two while he was planning on moving to Texas. And it's just gone on from one thing to another every 2 weeks.
Sure. Well, it's time to move on. I mean, you probably remember the conversation when you called me a bit agitated that I even stopped by, and you told me that one of those parties was going to the VA for some medical procedure. I think it was first week of November, and this has been a frustrating issue. And I mean, I think as Trustee Durr said, it's time to close the book on this because it's almost the end of June here. So
I totally agree with you. It's costing me, electricity and water and anyway. I thank you for your help, and I assure you I'll do everything possible to make sure that he's gone, even if it involves towing the thing, because right now it's not operational.
okay, but I mean, you understand, as Trustee Durr said, this is on you. The town, now the village, we have no cause against this person on your property. This is all on your shoulders. You understand that clearly?
Unfortunately, I do.
Okay.
I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the chief. He's been at our home, I think, 10 times within the last 2 years during the illnesses of my son's grandparents. I'd just like to publicly thank him and his staff for their service.
Those are kind words, and we really appreciate hearing them from you. Thank you. Okay, is there any further discussion? Are we prepared to move on? Everybody understands the motion? All right, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
The best to you.
Thank you all.
All right, next is item 11C, discussion and possible action on the application for a temporary Class B retailer's license for 5 Diamonds for July 3 through 5, 2020. Someone here for 5 Diamonds, Mr. Beatty here this evening, or?
Is not. If you remember, last go-round, they came forward with every weekend in the summer, and they forgot this one weekend, July 3rd to the 5th. At that point, the board had approved all the other retail license, temporary license, and he has asked that the same for this one.
All right, so we're kind of looking at this as a housekeeping thing. Is that the way Mr. Beatty perceived it, do you think? And the reason he's not here, did he just think this was housekeeping?
That would be my thoughts on it.
Okay.
It's your decision.
All right, board,
I'll make a motion to approve the temporary Class B retail license for Five Diamonds, July 3rd to the 5th.
I'll second. So the motion by trustee Durr, second by President Fisher to approve the application for Class B retailer's license for Five Diamonds for July 3rd through the 5th, 2020. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, get to saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes 3-0 unanimously. Item D, this is the item that was added to the agenda: discussion, possible action on a site plan of operation and sign for petitioner Camille Drake, owner. I'll try this and you can help me out, but Waleed R. Weedy of Milano Barbershop, S30 W24896 Sunset Drive, Suite 103, Tax Key WAKT 133594 2002. Plan Commission passed on June 11th, 2020. I think both of you are in the audience. Why don't you come up if you would, please, and you can help me out if I'm sure I mispronounced the name there, but just even as you're coming up, or if there are others here, I'll let you introduce yourselves momentarily, but just the history on this, as some of you remember, we looked at this back 2 weeks ago on June 11th. The circumstances very quickly is that we allowed, and I made that decision in conjunction with the village planner Sean Malarkey, to allow 30 days of a temporary occupancy because there was some confusion. Apparently, applicant and the city thought that this was in fact in the city rather than in the village. They're ready to go into operation, so we required the fire chief and the building inspector to do inspection before they were allowed to open and understand you're in operation. So we did, because we had the plan commission meeting here on the 11th of the month. The plan commission approved this matter. The town board did not take the matter up because typically we require applicants or petitioners to be present when we take up matters of this nature, and for whatever reason you weren't here 2 weeks ago. So why don't you just quickly introduce yourselves and maybe just correct or explain or add to what I offered. So welcome. Names, please.
Thank you. My name's Camille Drake, and I'm actually the manager of the location. We've got...
My name is Waleed Arwedi.
Give me the last name again. I'm sure I butchered it.
Waleed Arwedi.
Okay. Better for you to pronounce it than me. All right.
Good.
Okay. Do you want to add to that or give us further explanation?
Okay, so...
Get real close to the microphone, please.
Waleed is the actual owner, and his English is somewhat broken, and so I basically translate for him. Right now, I did originally fill out the application because he has the English barrier, but the occupancy permit should actually be in his name.
Okay.
Not mine.
Okay, well, that's probably paperwork stuff. You are in operation now?
Yes.
Tell us just a little, and I know we had the paperwork on it, but tell us just a little bit about your operation in your own words, please.
The operation consists of 6 suites that have 7 chairs in them, and each suite is operated separately. We're all sole proprietors. Waleed is the actual leasee, or leaser, and we're the lessees. We offer custom men's barbering services, straight razor face shaves with old school haircuts, with the hot lather, some women's hair cutting, hair coloring, neck and shoulder massage included with the haircuts along with the shampoo, things of that nature. But basically, we're all under the umbrella of Milano's Barbershop.
Okay, thank you. One quick thing, and we'll go to questions, so forth. You do have in your packet the staff review that Planner Malarkey prepared dated May 20th, which was for the meeting date 2 weeks ago on June 11th. And we've heard to act on this. I guess we decide whether we take it together or apart, but there also is a request for signage, and that I don't believe the Plan Commission acted on that because that is just a village board. So there's really two things in play as I understand it. It's site plan, plan of operation, and sign. I would suggest if and when we're prepared to act, we actually act on those separately. You have any other thoughts on that or not?
That's fine.
Okay, why don't you, as long as in discussion, tell us quickly, we've got a description here, but there's a request for a sign too that, I don't know if you've seen the report, but it says the sign is located on the wall above the entrance and measures about 3 feet by 7 feet or 21 square feet. The business occupies is about 6% of the building frontage, which allows up to 24 square feet of signage, so it would appear as though the planner found that in order. Okay. Village Board, questions, comments?
I think that one of the main questions that I had is how we found ourselves that you're in operation way ahead of the process of coming before the village board, and how you wound up in the city rather than in the village or town at the time.
Because I was actually working with someone by the name of Catherine, and I had been working with her a little over 2 months.
And she's from the city?
I believe so. I'm trying not to get myself confused here.
Okay.
I believe so. And the day that we were supposed to open, I realized I don't have my occupancy permit. And so I reached out to her. We looked over the address, and that's when she realized I was in the wrong area.
So did Catherine, does she have an office? I mean, how did you work with her?
I called the city.
Okay,
is
so you
what I
called the
did.
city and then
Yes,
got in
and then
touch with Catherine?
Right, and what happened was she sent me an application for an occupancy permit.
Did you
And-
guys do any construction in the facility?
No.
I mean, did you put up walls or?
No.
So it was all ready to go?
Yes,
Okay, so there were no construction permits or building permits or anything like that that were needed?
no.
So the first time that you talked to Catherine, did you tell her that the address of the establishment was S30 W24896 Sunset Drive?
Yes, I did.
And she just continued to move forward with you?
Yes, she did. And that's when she referred me over to Kathy Nicholas.
What else?
I'm just gonna ask, this was an existing, wasn't this a barber shop at one time before this, or a beauty shop or
A
something?
hair salon, I think.
Okay, yeah, because that's why the suites are pretty much set up the way they are already, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
The only other comment I would have is this is a kind of a bit awkward, unusual, and embarrassing circumstances for some of us, but we're glad you're in the village rather than the city.
Thank you.
Okay. I will make the first motion, and that would be to approve the site plan, plan of operation for the Milano Barber Shop, and my motion for approval would include the staff recommendations, which are included in the report of Planner Sean Malarkey of May 20th, 2020, and I will so move.
I'll second it.
And I maybe should even back up a half a step, but do you have a copy of that communication, both of you, his staff report?
I do.
Okay.
I believe, Kathy, is that what you emailed to me? Yes, I
Yes.
do have it.
So I would encourage you, if you act on that, both of you, you need to read that, understand it, and abide by all the conditions therein. Okay, so I made the motion. There was a second to the motion by Supervisor or Trustee Stigler. Further discussion? Okay, call the question. All in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Wait,
Okay.
sign. Sign,
What?
the sign?
Oh,
You only
I'm
approve
sorry.
the site plan,
Yeah.
plan of operation?
Good thing somebody's paying attention here. Come back up, not so fast. We need to deal separately with the sign request. Good thing somebody's paying attention tonight.
Is the sign also up?
Yes.
Did we have, was that part of Sean's report?
Yes.
It was, okay.
It's on second.
Yeah, I didn't read
Back
it
to the
before this
second
meeting,
page.
I had read it before last.
No, fair enough, but I don't,
Seems to me it met all the criteria.
it looks like it meets the criteria. I don't know that we had any kind of a illustration or picture or anything of that. I think it's just a written
Yeah,
description.
It's in the packet.
It's in the packet.
Is it downstream? Did I miss it? I'm sorry. I didn't go far enough. I see it. Okay. Okay. Are you prepared to act on that?
Now, we'll make a motion to approve the sign request for Milano Barber Shop.
And I'll second.
Okay, further discussion? No, if not, the motion by trustee Stigler, second by trustee Durr to approve the sign request for petitioner Camille Drake for the Milano Barber Shop. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Now, thank you.
You're very welcome. And by the way, Michael,
Yes.
Don Benson told me to personally tell you hello, okay? Thank you,
Very
guys. Have a
good.
good night. Thanks, Kathy.
Duly noted.
Thank
Now I
you.
know where Don gets his hair done.
Come to a village board meeting, you never know what you might learn. It's always a big surprise.
And if you knew Don, you'd realize he gets it done, not cut.
Not going any further on that tonight. All right, item 11E, discussion possible action on the approval of paving, payment number one recommendation from Chris Janelli in the amount of $176,862. Chris, you want to take that one quick?
Certainly. Wolf Paving has completed the paving on Glengarry and on Beeheim. That was the work associated with the 2020 road program. He and I have agreed to the quantities, which amounts to $176,862. I'm continuing to withhold payment, final payment, and withhold some retainage just for some loose ends, and we have a potential culvert issue on Glengarry that we're gonna have him fix. So that is why I am continuing to retain some of the money.
Okay, so your recommendation would be to approve payment in the amount of $176,862 tonight?
Yes, sir.
Okay, questions? Okay, I will move to accept the recommendation from engineer Janelli for pavement payment number one in the amount of $176,862, and that is are they still operating in the name of Wolf Paving, or is it a different name, or what?
It is still Wolf Paving.
To Wolf Paving. I'll so move. Second?
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion? Okay, if not, you understand the motion to approve payment to Wolf Paving in the amount of $176,862. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Do you
or?
want that in a roll call? Or-
Yeah, as long as payment, that's probably a good idea, as long as the payment is significant sum of money. So let's do a roll call, please.
President Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Durr?
Aye.
Trustee Stigler?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Item F is discussion and possible action on drainage complaints reviewed during the July 13th tour. I'm going to dispense with reading all of the names and addresses. Some of those folks are present tonight, and I've got a suggestion for moving forward with that. And I think we told people just back to we did 13 different properties Wednesday night of last week, about 20 minutes apart. In some respects, there's a lot of similarities and a lot of uniqueness. I gave you, and I'm going to go grab a copy of it, just a suggested Excel spreadsheet tonight. And again, we're minus 2 trustees. Is that extra one? Okay. Minus 2 trustees. I thought we might use this just to try to focus our discussion. I'm suggesting I'd like to get through each one of these so we've got kind of a summary sense of direction. We're not going to solve all the problems. There's a couple of extra copies if anybody would want one, but my suggestion is we try to see if we can rattle through these in about 5 or 6 minutes apiece. It's still going to take us an hour's worth. So my suggestion, and if you look at these, we're gonna basically see where the three of us are at on whether or not there's validity to the concern or problem or issue, whether we think we need more information. Engineer Janelli may assist on some of these, and then at least make a preliminary determination. These aren't gonna be formal actions, but whether we think that the village has any responsibility, and then get a sense of the temperature of the board here in terms of the magnitude of the concern or problem, whether it's minor, moderate, major, that type of thing. So you both okay if we just try to at least jump into this so we can see if we can get some direction? Okay, then we'll go, and I'm gonna suggest we might even take a couple of these out of order a bit. There may be some that have commonality, but I'll just set the pace here quick, and then each one of you can lead one or two of these. But I want to go to the 5:20 p.m., which was listed as Birch, B-E-R-T-S-C-H, S37, W276, 25 Sun Valley Trail. I don't think there's anybody here for that item tonight. And again, when we run through these, if you're the residents or what or not, we'll actually come up, grab the two chairs, maybe do the microphone. But this one quickly, if you recall, is Sun Valley Trail is going to hook into the residential development on the south end of the Merrill Hills Golf Course, which we looked at, spent an extensive amount of time over recent years. I know that had a lot of engineering look through, was passed on, and there was complaint by property owner on Sun Valley Trail that is either the third or the fourth house west and downstream of part of this development, which is kind of a natural drainage area. I talked to Diane Harp, who resides at that address again today, the conversation. She was unable to be here tonight, but my sense of that when we looked at that is that the grading that went on there, the plans for that were actually to try to alleviate part of that issue and redirect a significant amount of storm water to the east. Chris, why don't you just capture that in about 30 seconds, and then I'll continue with the rest of it. Just as quickly as you can, just describe that.
Sure. The construction of the golf course, or the design of that golf course, property, I guess the housing development next to the golf course, was had a stormwater management plan that was approved by the county. There was some significant engineering associated with the stormwater aspect of the development. In a nutshell, the drainage area that had gone to that depression behind Sun Valley is now less in area and impervious surface, so those folks should be seeing an improvement, meaning less water, less runoff.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to and we'll see how this works, but I'm going to even jump to the third column on this, and I'm going to say at this point in time, I don't believe there's any village responsibility for that situation at all, because I think it is a natural drainage way, and I think it has been vastly improved. So I'm going to go with no in terms of village responsibility. What do either the two of you think?
I agree.
I agree.
Okay, and then I guess we'll make it kind of simple. I don't know that we need to answer any of the rest of these. I mean, the question is, it's a valid concern or problem. It may be to property owners there, but that's internal to their lots. It's a natural drainage way, nothing to do with the village. So can we dispense with that one at this point in time? Okay, we're done. Do one of you want to, and I don't have to run this whole thing, suggest one of the next ones you'd like to take up, jump in? You got one, Mike?
Well, I have two concerns that didn't occur to me until a short time ago, but the Kurth at 420 and the Melenda on Primrose at 620. I don't know how either of those are drainage issues, and I have concerns about how they were agendized, both on the night that we visited and tonight, that we're discussing drainage issues, and neither one of those issues are a drainage issue.
Okay, well, I'll just respond this way. And I mean, if you look at the title we put on here, I entitled these mostly drainage-related, from my point of view, to the extent that both of them, and particularly, I'll start with the Kurth one, but the request on that, it would be relocating ditch line on that, I think a solution to it. I think that's certainly drainage-related. The Melinda one, and I mean, we can leave those till the end if you want, but I mean, in that we looked at grades and pavement alignment, saving a tree and stuff. I think there's an aspect of that. Perhaps those were stretched a bit, but I think they're certainly pertinent to that. So why don't we move to some of the others rather than
Well, if we're gonna
getting
address them
lost in
tonight,
those?
we can address them now. I mean, I
Well,
just
all
don't
right.
feel that they're drainage issues, and I don't know that they were properly agendized.
All right, well, do you, I guess if you object to addressing them tonight, we'll put them on the next agenda. I'm okay with that. You want to do that?
I would just want to get this over with and do them if they're in front of us right now. We've looked at all of these. It says assessment of concerns and problems, and then parentheses, mostly drainage, so I think
No, but
it's pertinent.
the issue is that on the June 17th agenda, it says driving tour of drainage concerns. And on tonight's agenda, it says discussion and possible action on drainage complaints reviewed during the June 17th tour. And now on something that was just handed out a moment ago and was not part of the packet, now it says mostly drainage concerns.
All right,
So
well, let's
I
not.
just want to make sure we're doing things
All
in the
right.
proper perspective.
Let's do this. My suggestion is we're gonna leave those two to the end, and let's move on and see if we can do something constructively. Any concern, Mike, that any of the rest of them are drainage related?
No.
All right, then we're gonna push those two downstream. What one would you like to talk about first? Go ahead, lead a discussion on one of them, go ahead.
Dale Drive.
Okay? All right, McNulty's, you guys want to come forward and grab the chairs up here? One or the other or both? Okay, you want to lead the discussion on that, or you want me to do it to kind of work through the little matrix here?
No, go ahead.
Okay, all right,
You're
so
the
the
president.
first question is, and I don't know that we need to go through and deeply describe this, but this is something that goes back historically, that there was some blockage in the culvert under Dale Drive. These folks have a corner property, I'm gonna call it loosely, on the north or northwest corner of that intersection. The town basically excavated on the outlet side of the culvert, which is generally the north side of it, and we looked at that excavated, I'm gonna say 10 to 12 to 14 feet, don't hold me to that, but lowered that end of it, and I believe the fire department, I'm not sure the chief is here, but basically blew out the culvert, water was standing there, and then the town basically sent him a bill. You were here previously, we came out to look at the problem. I'm gonna just jump in for a minute in terms of whether the residual issue, and we can double back to that, is a valid concern or problem with the drainage ditch, with the drainage in that ditch. I'm going with yes. Either one of you.
I agree.
Okay.
It's a
Mike?
problem.
All right, so we got 3 yeses, we agree on that. Do we need any more information on that? I'll answer that just a little bit if it, well, we're not to tonight, but if it comes to solutions, we'll need to have some grades, shot and distance and so forth, which Jerry may know something about, but for tonight, that needs to be revisited. The distance, invert elevations on culverts, but I'm gonna say for the purposes of what we're doing tonight, my answer to additional information is no. I think I understand that issue. What do either of you think?
Well, you just kind of said you want grades and stuff, isn't that requesting more information?
But I'm talking
or-
about to a solution to it, okay?
Okay.
We need more. Maybe, I mean, maybe we need to go backwards on some of these.
My response to this question is gonna be, when we get to the next question, is if the village has responsibility on every one of these, my question is gonna be, how are we gonna pay for it?
Okay, well, that's
Because-
fine. we can come to, if you want to skip this one over, do you want to go to whether there's any, I mean, we can take these in order. Do you want to go to whether the village has any responsibility for that condition?
I'll do it in any order that you want, Mr. President.
Well,
It's your matrix.
I'm equally amenable tonight. I'll do these in any order you want. I'm happy camper.
Any village responsibility in my term is yes at this point.
All
That's
right,
across
so Bob says yes on village responsibility. Brian says yes. What does Mike say?
Well, given our current ordinance that was changed, I guess we do.
So you're yes. So we got 3 yeses. Okay. Then, I mean, we can do these in any order. Magnitude or concern of problem. And I mean, these are judgmental things. These aren't right or wrong answers, and these obviously might be taken against the context of other issues. Do we think this is a minor, moderate, major, the magnitude of concern of this problem?
Well, it's not minor.
Okay.
I'll say major, considering as long as it's been going on and it still isn't rectified, and there is a lot
Right.
of standing water there, so I'll say major.
You're going to go with major. I'll go with major. Mike, what do you want?
That's fine.
Okay. So then in terms of needing more information, maybe that was poorly put, or we can skip that. My intention was whether we needed more information to determine really whether we had any responsibility for that. So you can answer that however you want, or simply say not sure. I'm going to say no in terms of needing more information. In terms of a solution, clearly we would, but in terms of a determination, I'm going to go with no. What would you guys like?
I need more information. I need to know how we're gonna pay for all of this.
All right, so you're going to say yes, you need more information. Bob?
I'm gonna say no, because I'm not concerned at this point about the cost. I'm concerned about whether,
All right.
what the solution is, if, that's gonna determine the cost.
All right, so we've got 2 no's and 2 yeses on that. I would like to, that completes part of the matrix, but raise one other issue, and that would be, I think that the then town board, when they assessed the cost, help us out. I'll give you folks a chance to speak in a minute. $400 and some odd. Why don't you just come on up and speak for a minute? We got ahead of this a bit, but I want to address the issue about the monetary cost that you were assessed. Anything that you want to say in terms of our discussion? I probably should have given you a chance before, but did we? You want to talk about what we did on the matrix? Go ahead.
Tim McNulty. From the standpoint, I believe that the charge of $400, and I believe it was $97, was misapplied because of the ordinance and the way it was written, as well as the belief that it was filled in, which of course it's pretty obvious that it was done over time from the water that drained through and how the drainage happened. So from the standpoint of the bill, I think that was inappropriately applied.
Okay, anything else you want to share with us?
So,
my wife would like the money back.
well, I understand, but clearly, if we go back to the time that we did that, you'll recall that the ordinance was that homeowners were responsible for the maintenance of the ditch.
I do recall that, Mr. Dewar, but I also, if you go back to the minutes, also disputed the interpretation that you had of the wording, because the wording was very clear that it was, you need to maintain for brush, vegetation, et cetera.
Well, I'm not gonna argue about it with you, but that's not quite right.
But that is exactly what the wording said.
In addition to that, you agreed to pay the amount before we did the work.
And I came, you never gave me a quote on it? Never?
Oh, that's not true.
No, that is true. Show me the quote, sir. I asked for a quote, you did the work, and then you sent me a bill.
No.
That is the truth.
Okay, well, we're gonna move forward with that. I will make a motion to
That's not true.
refund.
That is extremely
All right,
true.
time
Show
out,
me,
time out.
please show me the
Stop.
Talk. I don't
Stop,
have it at my
stop,
disposal, but
stop.
I will not stop.
Yes, you will.
No,
We're not
I
gonna-
will not.
You will. We're not going to have people talking over the top of
I
each
can
other.
talk to the gentleman who has the
You're
floor.
not going to be talking over the top of each other. You may proceed
I
respectfully,
can
please.
gather the data
it's
if
quite
you
all
would
right,
like it, but I don't have it at my fingertips.
I
But that
understand.
was a part of a very long and extensive discussion over multiple meetings.
There were 2 meetings, yes, indeed. And the first one, I said, yes, if that is my responsibility, I did agree to pay. I asked for a quote. I never was provided a quote. I actually made several phone calls to you, and you said you'd do the best you could. I agreed because I wanted the town to do the right thing, and I didn't want to hire somebody and have the town come back and say, that's not done to spec. Hence, I agreed that if that is the case, I would pay. I went back and I read it. I came back to dispute because the wording is very clear that it explains what the property owner is responsible for. It says for free flow of water, but then explains what. I argued, you guys disagreed, I paid the bill.
That's right.
I disagree with that, and no, I was not provided a quote.
Okay, I will move to refund, if indeed it was $497, I will move to refund the money to the McNulty's that they paid to the town for digging out on the downstream side of the cross culvert and flushing out the culvert, and I so move.
Is there an amount, Brian, on that? Is it 498?
497, can we confirm that?
I have the canceled check, I can provide that.
Well, it was in our packets that I don't know that we have in front of us tonight. Have you got that one, Mike? Let's get, I know it's 490 something, but let's get the right number.
I would second that. Like I said before when we started this, I said that, to me, that's a cross culvert, a road.
He wasn't charged for the cross culvert work.
Well,
Cross culvert work was done on the town's dime. The work that he was charged for was the work that was bordering his frontage.
Well, that is the culvert on the crossroad right there. Isn't that the one you're talking about? The
He
one
was
right on the
not
intersection?
charged, he was not charged for the cleaning of the culvert.
But I mean, this is what the culvert that we looked at on your intersection, is that not the one that you're
That is
talking
the
about
one,
that you
sir.
were charged
Yes,
for?
yes, it
Digging
is.
out the hole there, or whatever they did at
That is
that
correct,
culvert,
sir.
correct?
That is correct.
Yeah,
He
that's-
was not charged for the culvert work.
So I believe Mr. Dewar is talking about the fact that the fire department came and blew out what was underneath that caused the blockage that came, because obviously the whole thing was blocked because it was filling up over time. So, no, I do not believe, I believe you are correct, that you did not charge me for the fire department to blow out the rest of it that's underneath.
And
This is the
frankly, I
same
had given the
culvert.
direction to the DPW to retain a contractor to do that work. I didn't find out that the fire department did it until after the fact.
Okay, what's the
amount
number?
is $498.
$498. I will amend my motion for $498. Does the seconder of the motion accept that?
I agree.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed?
All right, passes 2-1. President Fisher and Trustee Stigler voting aye, Trustee Dur voting no. Thank you. All right. Which one, do you want to keep going down the line, or you want to take these out of order? Let's go down the line.
Let's follow the line, I guess.
Mr.
'cause-
Krieger, yep, do you want to come up? And again, I didn't mean to shortchange those people with an opportunity to talk. Let's start real quick first with you, and we're not going to belabor this or repetitively, I think. I mean, this is just 8 days ago. Some of our memories are still relatively intact. I think we know what the issue is. Is there anything more that you want to add at the moment? If not, we're going to work our way through the matrix.
Basically, the drainage is not an issue. It never was. It was for some of my neighbors on the other side of Timber Trail, as I explained on that night. And when they dredged out my ditch and deepened it, it resulted in lowering the culvert, and it has resulted in an expensive job to replace the culvert now. I can't use standard concrete ends. They would have to be custom made. there's more material. And at that, I just feel that this all occurred after I had purchased the property and lived there for several years. I feel the town has a responsibility and some cost sharing here.
Okay, thank you. Mike or Bob?
So I guess I'm not clear at what issue we're discussing it in terms of the matrix here. Is it the fact that the town has culpability to replace his culvert? I mean, I want to make sure we're all addressing the same issue.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. Did the town dig the ditch out deeper? Is that what you're telling me? When did that happen?
Yes, they did. That was back in the 80s.
Oh, boy.
There must be a record. As I explained that night, I believe when Harmony Homes developed that subdivision, once they got to the northwest side of Timber Trail, for some reason, my property and the property next to me, the ditches were higher than the ditches on the other side of Timber Trail. It took about 7, 8 years to determine that problem. Apparently neighbors complained that the water was never flowing, and the town at that point did hire a contractor to come and dig out the ditches and lower our culverts.
Jerry, is this before you? Do you know, you don't know anything about that, and if you don't, we're not gonna put you there, okay?
Okay, so what we're discussing tonight is, if we start with the third column, any village responsibility, we're discussing it in terms of cost sharing for the replacement of the culvert. Do the three of us agree on that? Because I think that's what you're asking.
Yes.
All right.
You're not concerned about the ditch per se, most of which should go south of your culvert. Is that true?
No. I mean, that is true, correct.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm gonna jump into this one for a minute, and I maybe didn't fully understand or appreciate that. So it's about the cost of end walls for the ditch? Is that what we're narrowing this down to?
Yes, Jerry informed me that mine would have to be substantially larger than the standard.
I guess I'm gonna just jump into this one for a minute. I maybe didn't fully understand or appreciate this when you're out there tonight. I'm gonna jump in terms of column 2, in terms of, I guess, needing more information about this. I mean, you guys can jump in it. I don't feel comfortable about answering any other questions until we get a little bit better focus on that.
I'm kind of confused, I guess. Is this happened in the 80s? What changed now all of a sudden? Is that water backing up on your culvert?
What changed now is we're in the ditch business.
That's.
We've always been in the ditch business.
No, we haven't been.
That's well stated.
Thank you.
Nothing's changed. The drainage problem across the street for my neighbors was alleviated. The problem now is because my culvert has aged and it has rotted out now, which isn't unusual. It happens.
Right.
Now I have a very deep ditch as opposed to what I had when I bought the property. Now I have an expensive job, considerably more expensive than average, considerably more expensive than what it would have been if this had never occurred.
So you're saying you're responsible for the culvert on your driveway, correct? Yeah,
Yes.
right? You're not arguing that point?
No.
You're just looking for the difference from the culvert ends that are standard to what you think, for Jerry, whoever said it has to be bigger, that difference. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do we have any idea what that monetary magnitude is, or Jerry or anybody know what we're talking about?
I personally have not looked into it, but when you have to have, custom concrete ends made, I'm guessing that's gonna run into, some expense.
Well, I guess I go along with Brian now. I guess we need more information, and that's part of that, before we can say, yes, go ahead and do this. I'm not gonna go along with that, but I guess I'd like to know what we're talking dollar-wise here.
I mean, I guess to move it along, I'm gonna go with need more information. And I want to be fair to the village taxpayers, I want to be fair to you, but I don't have enough information at this point in time to decide. So I'm going with question mark or need more information. I'm going to go with yes on needing more information. What about either of you two?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Well, I mean, you can put me down as a yes, but it's a culvert, and it's the homeowner's responsibility, and when I get to the next column, but if we want to put that off.
Well,
I don't think the culvert's the issue, though. He's willing to pay the culvert.
Culverts, end caps, I mean, those are.
I know. and
Those are homeowner responsibilities. And if we're gonna start making an exception for this gentleman, then we better
Well-
have more seats when everybody needs to replace their culverts.
But how many ditches were dug out that much deeper because
Okay.
someone made a mistake when the subdivision was
Okay.
developed?
Folks, we're going to move along. Mike, yes or no? Your choice. I'll put you down for
Yes,
either
put
one.
me down as a yes.
Okay, you're down as a yes. Thanks, Mr. Krieger.
Okay.
Okay, next, Kibitsky. No Kibitsky. There is a Kibitsky here. Did you sneak in late or what?
I've been here for a while.
All right. Mr. Kibitsky, introduce yourself quickly. You may have a chance to be part of the discussion.
Merrimack Trail, met you all. I do have one comment, trustee Dewar.
Get real close to the
The
microphone.
town has been in the ditch business a lot longer than it hasn't been. I've lived in it for 42 years, and for the first 30 years that I lived there, you took care of ditches. It's only since probably about the last 10 or 12 years where you haven't. And if you're gonna go back into the 50s and 40s, the town probably did take care of the ditches. But I understand your point, like this last one, you can't repair everybody's culverts and everything. I understand that. I mean, the town can't afford all that, but you have been in the ditch business.
And for clarification, I was pointing out the fact that within the last 6 or 9 months, there was a change in the ordinance.
Right.
And the previous change before that, I can't speak to, but I suspect that there was significant amount of ditch work that was going on that should not have been. So I don't know, I can't speak to the 40s or the 50s certainly, but before that ordinance came to light, I think there was a lot of ditch work going on at taxpayer expense that probably should not have, and that's what I was getting at.
Right.
And
Just so that you
my
were
point
aware.
about, for the public, my point about we're in the ditch business now is the board decided, what was it, 8 months ago, 9 months ago? That the ditches were now the responsibility of the town.
Well, and again, we're here to, not to be to argue about stuff. I have a
Nobody's
little
arguing
different.
about anything.
I was just
Let me
pointing out,
Can I speak, gentlemen,
Sure.
just for a minute?
your president.
We can walk away tonight and say we had different interpretations of the town ordinance in terms of what ditch maintenance meant for private property owners and for the town. Nothing was changed, different people with different interpretations of that. And that may be work for another day to clean up some of that, so we don't have people with different interpretations.
Well,
But
you
we
don't
didn't
acknowledge that we
change
passed a
anything.
new ordinance,
We didn't
more
ch-
than 6, less than 12 months ago?
No, we didn't change anything. So,
We adopted a new ordinance. We most certainly did,
which is what?
on ditch maintenance. Did we not, Madam Clerk, do you recall?
That's when we started. You did, that's when you started mowing and taking care of.
Yeah, it was one of the first ordinances we changed.
We said we would go back to mowing ditches as a policy thing, so.
No, I'm sorry, Mr. President, but.
Well, we're moving on.
We very
You-
clearly
you don't-
adopted, it was a 3-2 vote.
You don't have to be sorry about anything. We're moving on tonight. We're here to talk about these issues. Kibitsky, is this a valid concern or not? My answer is yes. The two of you.
Yes, it's a valid concern.
All right,
Yes,
thank
mine
you.
is yes.
So we got yeses on that. Do you need any more information?
Again, I'd like to frame exactly what we're talking about. There's obviously a problem with the cross culvert that runs on a diagonal.
Definitely.
And as far as that portion is concerned, and I appreciate taking these columns somewhat out of order.
All right, we'll go to another column.
Yeah, the next one is is there any village responsibility as it pertains to the diagonal cross culvert? I mean, clearly that's failing, and that would be a town responsibility to me. So that's a yes on that issue.
It's a yes for me.
All right, what about the filled-up ditch with how many decades of sand and boiler slag and stuff? Do you think the village has any responsibility for that?
I do based on the current ordinance, I would say yes.
Okay.
I agree.
All right, then let's go, and we can double back here in a minute. Magnitude, what? I said yes. I'm a yes. We got 3 yeses. All right, the magnitude of the concern or problem. Suggestions on that?
It's a lot of work. It's a major.
Okay.
me.
I'll agree with that. Bob?
Yep.
All right. And on some of this, if the need, more information is confusing, or, we can a little bit do that. In order to proceed, we need more information, but we don't need more information to make the determination that the village has some responsibility as a major concern. Is that fair?
I didn't understand your point.
Well, my intention when putting this together, and I'm trying to do this just to facilitate and organize discussion, when I said need more information, the purpose or intention of that was, do we need more information in order to determine whether the village has any responsibility or whether this is a major concern or problem? It wasn't intended to mean, do we need to go out there and get more information on grades and inverts and condition thing? That was my intention. Maybe that's a shortcoming of this form, but that was my intention. Or do we need more information to answer columns 3 and 4? That was my intention. So I guess I'm just going to say, with that explanation, I don't need any more information to determine that the village has some responsibility and this is a major problem. But you guys can answer that however you want. If you want to just say you're not sure, you want question mark on that, Mike, I'll put you down as a question mark.
That would be a yes. I need more information as a question mark. I don't need more information about the diagonal culvert. It needs to be replaced.
All
and I
right,
would
you
do
need
that.
more information about the rest of it. So you want to be a yes, you're a
Yeah.
yes. Bob, what do you want to be?
I was going to finish my sentence.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, well, I intended to until you talked over me.
I apologize deeply.
Thank you. I accept your apology.
You're welcome.
Okay. In terms of the cross culvert, I think that should be done sooner rather than later, and I think that can be handled out of the current DPW budget. In terms of all the other work, I'm gonna go back to how are we gonna pay for it? It's not something that we have ever budgeted for. So it's kind of a two-prong answer.
Okay.
If we wanna just call that overall yes, I need information, that's fine, I need more information.
Okay. Bob, you want to be a yes or a no?
This is on need more information, is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
I don't need any more information, I believe.
So you're a no. Okay, anything else, Mr. Kibitsky?
And what were you, Supervisor, or President Fisher?
I am a no.
Okay, thank you.
No, I appreciate your time and coming out and looking at it. So finally, we're getting something done. That cross culvert that, it's caving in. You know that. You could see it. So
Okay,
it needs to be
thank
fixed
you.
before somebody gets hurt. So thank you for your time.
Before you leave, and we eventually will have to deal with who pays for this. If anybody would like to write out a check to the Village of Waukesha before you leave tonight, Kathy will gladly accept them,
I
right?
only got cash.
We'll take that too. Just leave it right
Will
up
that get
over
it
here.
done? Will that
Huh?
get it done?
Of course. All right, thank you very much. Okay, Rinka, S45, W270, 631 Elk Valley Road. Anybody here? No. Not tonight. Well, we're going to go ahead and talk about this one anyway. Where would you gentlemen like to jump in?
Jeez, this thing doesn't stop.
Got a lot of sounds on that thing.
Yeah, that was a message.
We can take these things in any order you want. I'm just trying to get a sense of where we're at so we can figure out where we're going. Which column would you like to address first? All right, I'll start. There are multiple issues here. It was, remember about the steep, if you will, rock-lined ditch and the concrete invert and the direction of it and so forth. I'm going to jump in and say I think there is some validity or concern to this problem, so I'm going to go with yes.
Well, I'm gonna go with a not sure on this one.
Okay, so your question mark, that's
Yep.
good. You're not sure. Mike?
Yeah, I guess he's got a problem.
All right, so you're gonna go with yes? All right.
Can we jump to village responsibility? Seems to be a better order.
Yeah, go ahead.
This was draining, right?
That's my question. I'm not sure, because he claimed it's supposed to go the other direction, and it's not. Per se, the original grading contract or stormwater plan, I guess, is different than what's going on there. That's why I'm not,
I mean, we could.
not sure about a problem.
Even on
you
this
know?
thing, if you want under that column, I didn't put here, but any village responsibility, if that's an open question, I mean, you put a question mark on that and a not sure, if you want.
On responsibility?
Right.
You know, it goes back to the second one is about needing more information, and I guess I would like to know what the grading or the stormwater
All right.
plan originally was for that, and what's changed since then.
All right,
And that
so-
would determine who's responsible.
Right, so in terms of needing more information, before you can move along, are you a yes?
Yes.
And I'm not trying to put words in people's mouths, just move along. I'm a yes for needing more information. Mike?
Yes.
Okay, so we got 3 yeses, then any village responsibility, I'm gonna go with not sure. Do we get more information?
Well, is that a no? Because there is no, not sure.
Well, I just put a question mark on mine for not sure under village responsibility. We can add that to it.
I can do that,
You want a not sure?
yeah.
Mike?
Well, if it's a valid problem, which I answered yes to, then it's the village responsibility.
So you're going yes?
That's where I'm going.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Bob, what were you?
I'm not sure, because like I
Okay,
said.
that's fine. I just didn't
Yeah,
note it
I just
down,
not
that's
sure
all.
where,
Okay,
what the
so
problem really is.
Under village responsibility, I'm a question mark, not sure. Mike, you're a yes, and Bob, you're a question mark, not sure. Have I got that right? Okay, and I don't know, magnitude of concern or problem, do we want to answer that at this point in time, or are we not comfortable with that? I'm gonna, just so we can move this along, I'm gonna go with, I think there's some issue with those boulders on maintain it. I'm gonna go with a 2 moderate.
Yeah, me too. I can go along with 2.
You're both a 2?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, all right. Then we're gonna move along, we're skipping Melinda Sullivan. Come on up. You wanna introduce yourself or selves and give us your name, address, and if you wanna spend a minute or two, go ahead.
Sure, thank you. Jim Sullivan on Glendale, my wife Vicki over here. First of all, I would like to thank President Fisher and the board for their efforts to understand what we consider a very serious concern on our property. Over 9 years ago, we chose the then town of Waukesha to live in. Now, we could have lived anywhere in Waukesha County, but the village became our first choice. We do love it here. But recently, we started looking elsewhere due to the continual deterioration of our property. Concurrent with looking elsewhere, we're getting bids for remodeling our home, but of course, we're reluctant to pull the trigger on that option until we can understand the issues we're faced with the drainage. But we do appreciate the attention to matter, and we appreciate your service. I would like to introduce my neighbor, Corrine. She's the next-door neighbor. Her property is also affected, probably even more severely than mine. We have a sump pump. It runs continually in the spring. When we first moved in, it may trigger once in a while in the spring when we get some heavy rain. They do not have a sump. They've lived here 15 years, and they're actually getting water, mold, and et cetera in their basement. So I don't know if, Green, do you want to add anything to that? Can I permission to ask?
Sure.
She can, if she wants to come forward, she's welcome. Just make sure you give us your name and address and get real close to the microphone.
Hi, I'm Corrine Everett. I live at South 51, West 25041 Glendale Road, and I've been there 15 years. The water is progressively getting worse. Anytime it rains, I have water in my basement on like 3 of the 4 walls. So, yeah, I don't know where to go from there.
Thank you. Okay, discussion. Everybody got this? And I'm gonna, even I didn't mean to drop you out of any of these earlier ones, Chris, and you might have something to offer on this one or not. I mean, this is drainage area through people's yards. I should even one thing, there's a cross culvert under a north-south section of Glendale Road. And several years ago, when the town did the inventory of 219 or whatever the heck it is, culverts under town roads, not driveway culverts. You had a very detailed inventory done of those. They were given numbers, locations placed on a map, and they were assessed as to whether they were completely open, 25, 50, 75, or 100% restricted or blocked. The culvert of which I just spoke, which is on the east side of your property, you're on the west side of the street, was not included in that inventory. It was missed, frankly, so that's a bit of information. Chris, you got anything at all? Have you had a chance to look at this one or not yet?
No, not on this one.
Okay, so you may need to take a look at that. Guys, what are you thinking here? Can we fill out part of the matrix tonight?
I got a yes for valid concern.
Okay, Mike?
Yes.
Okay, I've got a yes, so we got 3 yeses on the validity of the concern. We could take
Again,
these.
if we would jump to village responsibility, I would certainly acknowledge that the cross culvert, which certainly appeared to be at least partially blocked and probably in need of some clearing on the east side of Glendale, I would consider that all town responsibility. But I would be cautious and careful to move much beyond that. I was just looking on GIS. I recalled that drainage area through the backyards to be more of a creek, but I don't know that. I mean, when I walked over there, I thought it was more of a creek than it was a drainage area. I guess I'm a little curious on how a house got built with a creek in the backyard without a sump pump, but as far as the cross culverts, there's some maintenance that needs to be done there, and I think we should tend to it sooner rather than later.
Okay, I would agree fully with your characterization, so it's a step along the way, whether the village has responsibility and how far that might or might not extend it into yard areas, or whether that alleviates the problem. I agree with what Mike says. Bob?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, so those are yeses. Can we address the issue of the magnitude or the concern of the problem? You want to put a number on that?
Well, in terms of how I phrased it, I think it would be considered minor.
Minor, okay.
But I don't know that that's gonna fix their problem.
No, I get that.
But in terms of our taking responsibility for getting the culvert cleaned out and getting a backhoe back there and cleaning out some of the east side of the road.
That's I think it's major, because you are gonna have to, if you wanna really alleviate this problem, I mean, the water going underneath that culvert is not moving, and I don't know if it's because it's just blocked or the downstream part of that where it goes into the creek is filled up with runoff from who knows where, and the water just isn't gonna be flowing downstream. And I know you brought up the fact of the culverts on Glendale being blocked, and I see that. I mean, I think it's 2 of them are blocked, correct? But I'm not sure, you know, you look on the other side, and there's trees crossing the creek too that are slowing the water down. So that's just visual from the road. Now, if you're gonna go upstream farther and downstream farther, is there more of these problems out there that are really causing a lot of the drainage problems on their property and upstream from there? When the water level is here and their water level is here, and it can't get past there, it's not going anywhere. I mean, right, Chris? I don't know what the legal part of it is, if we can go that far into somebody else's property and dredge that out. And then we get to the bridge, and we've got, what's blocking it is all dirt, it's all sediment, correct?
Yeah, it appears to be. When we moved in, there's 4 very large
Yeah,
culverts.
and I
You could
see
drive a
the
car
2
through.
middle ones basically got dirt in front of them.
When we moved in, I think at least 3 of them were flowing pretty well, and now everything is just silted up and grown up.
Yeah.
You know,
And my question is, how far as a village, can we go into a natural stream like that and do any dredging at all? That becomes a DNR issue, and they're pretty restrictive on.
Yeah, that's Pebble Brook, right?
No.
Pebble Creek?
I think it's Creek,
Yeah, okay.
Sign on the road says Pebble Creek.
Okay.
Down the road.
Just want to make sure we were talking about the same thing.
Okay, so I've got, in terms of completing this, I've got 3 major magnitude of concern or problem. I'm at 3 major. Mike is at 1 minor, and Bob is at 3 major. Have I got that right?
Mhm.
Okay, then, and maybe we're back to the confusing second column again, depending on how you're answering that, needing more information, and that's maybe the poorly worded question of all in terms of determination of whether there's something for us to do. I'm going to answer that no, but I will simply qualify it saying is before we get to a solution, we need a lot more information. So
I think so.
do you guys want to go in there or whatever? Or is that just too confusing of a column in itself?
Needing more information?
Right.
I had down a no, but as I said before, when we get into going into the mainstream, or we need more information on whether we can even do any of that.
Maybe we should
That's a yes.
just
then.
fill out
That's
the
a
whole.
yes.
You're a yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Mike?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anything else?
Yes, one more thing. I think, you know, it would be in our preference if we could move, I think as, who said sooner rather than later, if we could get that culvert cleaned out and then kind of see where we're at. But I do agree, there's constrictions, beaver dam, silt, further into Pebble Creek and that private ditch running next to us. But we may be able to, you know, buy a lot of time by just getting each side of that ditch cleaned out and the pipe blown out.
Part of, and thank you, that part of the purpose, and again, this is imperfect, but part of the purpose for kind of, and again, any of you are welcome to pick up one of those over there as long as the copies last. Part of the purpose that I had for putting in the magnitude of the concern or problem might lead to prioritization of things we do. I mean, in terms of time and resources, they're not unlimited. I mean, some of these things, they may even be progressive or immediate things or what or not. So we're not going to get through all that tonight, but that's the purpose of that, is try to get the temperature of the board. And we're put 3 here tonight because we may well have to prioritize resources. So that was the thought behind that. Okay, anything else other than that?
No, thank you very much
Thank
for
all
your
you
time.
Glendale Road folks for coming over. Thank you.
Do you need us in for anything else, or is that everything you need from us tonight?
That's it for you
Okay,
tonight.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, familiar looking faces. We've seen the Carlsons before, right? Good evening. You want to come up quick? And maybe you should spend just a minute to tell us, because I think if we got it right, your vision, a little bit about what you thought you wanted to do. You were here previously, basically wanted to do some things in the ditch, and I think your vision has changed a bit. Maybe you should just re-describe that for us quick, please.
Yeah, our problem is getting stuck with a lawnmower in the ditch. And it is to do with the water being retained by the silted soil in there. And one solution would be to create a dry creek bed through there, which we're putting stuff in there which we aren't supposed to do anyway. And we've thought better of the maintenance of doing the dry creek bed thing. So what we do is just take the silt out down to a line connecting the bottoms of the adjacent culverts and seed it with grass. So maybe by fall you wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
You actually, when we were out there last Wednesday, you actually started some of your own digging in the ditch and removing silt, right?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure the solution would work, you know, if there's
Okay.
any other problems come up.
Okay. So this has got some history and it's kind of in a progress thing. Questions or responses to how we fill out the matrix or whatever, what do you guys think?
I think we have one issue that to my knowledge, you need a permit to work in the right-of-way in the ditch, isn't that right? Because it has to be reviewed by, we've run into this with a couple other residents in the past. Chris, do you recall the others? Or do you recall if we need a permit to work in the right-of-way in ditch? It came up on a house right near, I don't recall the street, but it was in Rolling Oaks where we were on the French drain.
Yeah, they wanted to put in a storm sewer, a little pipe or something, yeah.
So I'm
And I
concerned
don't
about the
know-
work that's going on already, because I don't believe you have a permit, do you?
No, that's why we came to the board last year to get this answer, and there's nobody mentioned about being able to do it with a permit or whatever. It's just a question of whether we could do it. And so what I've done is sort of experiment with the flow of water we got in the mud and see what really would work. And we think we could just take the silt out of there and reseed it, it would be fine.
Is there a reason for the permit, if you're gonna replace exactly what's there, do you need a permit to do that, or you need a permit to change the complete face of the
Basically,
ditch?
rearranging it.
I mean, what he's proposing now is to do exactly what we kinda Chris and I were at odds about, but I wanted grass to be replaced. I thought that was the best way to keep erosion under control, and that's what he wants to do now. And my question is, you said is the neighbor downstream from you okay with digging part of that ditch out? Because that is a pile of sediment in front of his place too, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the question. If I'm able to do it on mine, can he do it on his?
Well, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah,
If you don't just do yours, I don't see the problem going away, because he's got a big pile of sediment in front of his culvert also, and I think that's the problem too, is it's not getting past that.
Yeah, the whole neighborhood has a silt problem. And so what I hope to be able is be an example of what could be done. And of course,
I think that what you're proposing now is probably more doable and more problem-solving than putting riprap and.
yeah, if there's an issue of the adjacent landowner doing work in the right-of-way and paying for it, you know, the village is responsible for the ditch. And if I could answer Trustee Doerr's question, if the village has to have money to do that, they could hire me and I'll donate my time. Then there won't be an adjacent property owner doing unauthorized work in the ditch.
Appreciate that.
I think we should just end the meeting tonight, because I just heard Mr. Carlson offer to dig out all of the ditches in the village of Waukesha. I can't think
Motion to adjourn.
What does the
I
village
can't think
pay?
of a higher place to end the meeting on. That is really kind of you.
Just take it off my tax bill.
Tongue in cheek, I mean, we're a little bit, and we will, not tonight, but we will look at the whole issue of ordinances and permits. I mean, at one point in time, we had people saying if you want to do anything in your ditch, you have to have a stormwater management plan of your entire area to the tune of $8,000 to $10,000 from a independent engineer, what or not. I mean, we've got homework to do to set the right direction on that. I mean, for me, it's kind of a fine line if somebody's got a ditch and we put slag on the roads and a bunch of the ditch line fills up with slag in the road and somebody goes out with the rake or the shop vac or the shovel to try to get it out of there. Are we really going to tell them the indignation of coming to the town to get a permit to remove stuff that washed off the road when one interpretation of the ordinance, it's theirs to do anyway. I mean, I think we gotta kind of put our common sense hats on here a bit. Let's
I think
move.
If the village is responsible for all the ditches, can I get your permission to do my neighbor's ditch?
Boy, I'd tempt us, huh?
I don't have to ask him about it, I just get permission from you. I'm working for the village and I'm digging out your ditch.
Well, we're way ahead of ourselves here.
I
now.
know Jerry's looking for extra help in the Public Works Department. My ears are just ringing here, huh?
Gonna put Jerry out of work.
Yeah. All right, I appreciate it. But anyway, seriously, we need to kind of come to resolve, and we need to get some answers to this fairly quickly, good, bad, or indifferent, right or wrong. I mean, you've been digging out your ditch. Let's see if we can get through filling this thing out. Is there validity to this concern? I say yes, to the extent that you basically indicate you got your lawnmower getting stuck in the ditch and you're digging silt and stuff out of it. I say this is a valid concern or problem. Maybe the repair is in progress, but I'm going with yes. What would either of the two of you like?
I got
for
a
an
yes.
answer?
Yes.
All right, so we got 3 yeses on that. Do you want to go to column 3 like we were doing on any others, any village responsibility?
Yes.
Okay, so are we yes times 3 on those?
Yes.
Bob, I'm not trying to put it. I'm going to go with a moderate concern. I'm going to put this one into the number 2. What about either of you?
Yeah, I can do it too.
Lot of ditching, but I can go with moderate.
All right, so we got 2.
He's just the start.
Huh?
He's just the start, not the end.
I understand that, yeah. I mean, the potential in all of this for scope creep is unimaginable. All right, does it make, I mean, I'm going with no in terms of needing any more information, but I mean, we need to clear up and get a directive to him as to whether he can finish restoration of that or seeding. I mean, you got grass seed in it or topsoil or anything yet, or where are you at?
No, we just got the,
All right.
what you saw.
Okay, all right, we'll get to that. I'm gonna no for additional information. What about you guys?
No.
I'm a yes. How are you gonna pay for it?
All right, you're a yes, Bob's a no. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Carlson, thank you very much. Appreciate your coming out tonight. Okay, Merrick, W227 S4430 Patricia Lane. Anybody here? No. Okay, valid concern or problem? Everybody's got this in kind of your mind's eye? I'm gonna
Yes.
go with yes.
Yes.
So we got 3 yeses. If you want to go to any village responsibility, I'm yes.
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 3 yeses.
Buy it all.
Magnitude of concern or problem, I'm at a 3.
Yep.
That's a 3.
Yeah, definitely a 3.
All right, so you got 3s. Need more information. I'm
Yes.
going with no. Mike's a yes. Bob's a, you want to be a question mark?
Yeah, I guess so, because right now
All right.
I'd need some, probably Chris's and where's the water supposed to go down there?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know what the plan ever originally was there, because the water's all sitting at the end there and it's not going anywhere,
right, it's
correct?
supposed to continue down Beheim
It's a
and,
bigger issue.
and continue.
So you want to go
south
into the yes?
Under
Okay.
the German
I'm
farm.
sorry.
I'm gonna go yes.
All right, you're going into the yes. That's gonna perhaps be on Chris's to-do list. Anything more do you want to discuss on that one? Okay, then we're going to go to Burke, S43W22475 Beheim Road. Anybody here tonight? No. Okay.
Can you give me a nickel analysis of what the problem here was, or what the issue was?
Yeah, I can tell you what, and there's a little bit of history, I can tell you why I prompted it and why I put it on the route, okay? Is I got a call, and maybe that came through Kathy first, passed it along to me. They were concerned because Wolf was repaving on Beheim. They went in and basically milled the road, okay? The whole road was milled, and when they milled the road, these people had a relatively new concrete driveway. I mean, I don't know, it's a couple years old, you guys saw it, and the concrete driveway apron area, or what or not, Chris might help with that, but was extended to the existing Beheim Road, which wasn't in great condition. That's why we're milling it up and repaving. It's not an overlay, it's a mill and repave. So apparently Wolf or their subcontractor, whatever, went in, and I'm not sure, they cut off 3-4 feet or something. They went into a control joint in the driveway that was like parallel to the ditch line, and they cut off the concrete part of the driveway. And it happens, nobody told them that before the fact, so they were a bit unnerved about it. And I think even when I went out there, there was a 4-inch drop from the concrete driveway into the milled surface or what or not, people going up and over, so they were unnerved, didn't know what was going on. So I went out there to take a look at it, and I hadn't talked to Chris, didn't know anything about it. It made some sense to me what was done, and figuring that when the road was repaved, they were going to bring the asphalt return to the concrete where it was cut off. But while I'm out there, Christy Burke, I believe, said so during the discussion part of it, said, during heavy rainfall, the water basically overtops their driveway, overflows the ditch and overtops the driveway. She told me it's the same thing 3 or 4 driveways or houses to the east, which is upslope a bit on the south side of Beheim. And I looked at that, and I mean, that's an old ditch line. There's not even decent shoulder on the road. It's before paving. I mean, there's, roots and vegetation, brush. It's not a well-defined ditch line. I look at the outlet side of their culvert, and I mean, it looks like, I can hardly see the profile of it. There's kind of fieldstone stuff there. So, and then the other thing they offered voluntarily is that the stormwater detention pond across the street on the northeast corner of Beheim and Guthrie, that they never saw a drop of water in it. So this is just through their words. Part of the reason that I put that on there, because I thought it was a drainage issue in the big context. Then when we got out there, they did some work. The asphalt was returned to the concrete. I mean, both of those are pitching towards each other. Hopefully there's enough cross pitch on that. I don't know that for a fact, but hopefully there's enough cross pitch from east to west so the water doesn't sit on it. But then when we were all out there, I believe came out, built a little bit of the kind of the edge of the driveway road on the west side, and had kind of a wood form, put some stuff in there, and took that concrete block, turned it on end at the end of the culvert that ends up restricting that. So I hadn't seen that before. I mean, we'll get back to filling this out. At a minimum, I haven't done anything with it, but I mean, they got to take the culvert, they got to take that concrete block out of the end of it, restricting that culvert, right? I mean, that's not, for whatever purpose, if it doesn't drain decently, that's a problem rather than help. That needs to be done. I still think there are some issues to look at with the overall ditching in that area. I mean, we went, and I know Jerry looked at it, there's vegetation and all kinds of stuff it hooks around at the southeast corner of Beheim and Guthrie. It hooks around to a cross culvert that goes under Guthrie that feeds the ditch line that eventually goes all the way down to the Merrick thing that we looked at, which is, half a mile down the road or whatever the heck it is. So
what
all
is
of
the
those
issue
things
that we're
are going
trying
on.
to solve here?
Well, for me, I think there are some issues with that ditch line. I mean, he's got to get the culvert and stuff, the block out of there, okay? I think there are some issues with shaping or cleaning up that ditch line from my point of view. And it gets even a little trickier. I mean, Jerry could maybe speak to it. We're not going to necessarily solve all that tonight, but I mean, I don't even know how you could put a shoulder to the road on there. I mean, come up for just a minute. I mean, you shouldered that. I mean, you put some aggregate across at the edge of it, but I mean, that doesn't really even have a shoulder, at least on the south side of the road. Is that fair?
The road was widened when it was paved to some extent. So there is no really room for a shoulder. The shoulder's right in the ditch.
Right.
I mean, it would be extensive repair. You'd have to reshape the ditch, move the ditches back, move culverts. You're talking major surgery. I have never witnessed a water problem there, and I've been here 26 years. One, the concrete block should come out of there. I don't think it's a huge issue. As far as a concrete driveway goes, they saw cut the driveway to take the transition out from the road to the concrete. I think Wolf did a good job of it. That's the nature, that's what they do on all the driveways, whether it be asphalt
Yeah,
or
or-
concrete.
Or gravel, that's kind of the standard
Yeah.
process, yeah.
I mean, I think, for me, I think we're past the business about sawing off the end of the concrete type of thing. I mean, as long as it isn't sand and water there that ices up, I think we're past that. I just gave that for informational
I'm
part of it,
saying
so.
moderate problem,
Huh?
number one.
You want to go in as a moderate problem?
It's moderate in my book.
All right, well, we'll put a column in here for Jerry. I don't know, Chris, you looked at that, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it
mean,
is what it
there's-
is. I mean, it'd be a lot of work on a project. Is that, do we know, is that a 60 or 66 foot right of way?
There is no
Are we
right
looking
of
at?
way on that side.
There's no right of way even on that side.
Right, so that makes, I think you can legally call it 33 then. But there's so many trees, there's a gas line there, it's gonna be to get any semblance of a ditch in there, it's gonna be.
It's a challenge.
That's a challenge for
Yeah.
sure.
So that's one of those old center line of the road kind of things?
Correct.
Rather than a defined right of way on the south
For the,
side?
for the first 3 houses, the 4th house has got a right of way.
All right.
And the 5th
Okay.
one doesn't, so it's kinda hit or
Typically, a
miss.
driveway culvert's about 9 feet to the center of it off the road. And that one's probably what, 12 inches, 14 inches?
Yeah,
You know,
it's right there.
what do you do?
It's regrettable Mr. Carlson left already. We could have had him out there like Monday, right? Put him to work. Okay, we got to move on. I'm going to say that, and it's complicated as well, I'm going to say there's, I don't know what the solution is, but I'm going to go yes with a valid concern or problem.
I've got a yes down for that.
Mike?
So the problem is the culvert?
No, I'm even going past that. I'm saying, and I don't know what the answer solution is, but I'm saying we've got a major problem there with the shoulder of the road, the ditch line. I mean, it's easy tonight to say that's a problem. I don't have the solution. I mean, that would be involved in costing stuff, but I think it's a problem with that when there's no shoulder and we got. all
That
the
sounds
crap
like
going with
something
it.
we should have probably addressed before we spent $179,000 to have it repaved.
Well,
No, I don't think we have a problem there.
okay, so you're going no. All right, you guys want to go to village responsibility? I'm at yes.
I actually got a no down, because I.
Okay. All right, Bob's a no. Mike,
I don't think there's a problem, so.
you're a no. All right. Then in terms of magnitude or concern or problem, I'm going with the 2 moderate. Are you guys going with NA not applicable?
I got a 1.
Huh?
I got a 1,
NA?
minor.
Bob's minor. Mike, what do you want?
I'm in an A.
You're
There's a
an NA. All right. Need more information.
No.
Bob doesn't need any more information. Mike, do you need anything?
Nope.
I'm gonna go with a yes on that one. Okay. Next, Balgrud, S41, W22225, Crestview Drive. Anybody here? Nobody here. Okay.
I'd like
Chris-
to, on this one, I'd like to jump right to the village responsibility, as we were standing in a backyard and a drainage easement. I just don't see that as a town responsibility, and I don't need to answer whether it's a concern or a problem if I don't think it's a town responsibility.
Okay, so you're going no on village responsibility.
Right.
I guess I gotta ask Chris, have you looked at this one and do you know how this came to be? I mean, this is relatively new.
Yeah. So I did
What's
some
wrong?
digging into the final plat and the grading plan for the Rolling Oaks subdivision. And I think I sent you an email a few days ago. That is it's a public easement because it does get public water, and it's also carrying storm sewer through some segments of it to the pond that goes kind of around the corner to the north. So I'll kind of just read my email to you because hopefully that'll spell it out. I reviewed the documentation that I have for the easement, stormwater drainage in the area. There is a 30-foot drainage easement which is dedicated to the town of Waukesha for stormwater management purposes. There is a rear and side yard storm sewers which convey runoff to the pond. This was designed and studied to convey the 100-year storm event. I noticed that the houses we visited had partial exposures, which is not what the master grading plan called for. So this could be a problem for those homeowners given larger storm events. It appears that the grading in the rear yards is fairly close to what was required by the master grading plan, with the exception of these partial exposures. I've attached a copy of the plat that I have. It's not the recorded or final version, and also a copy of the grading plan that I have on file. So I think, from my perspective, the backyards are graded pretty much correctly. The problem these guys are experiencing is because they built rear exposures where they probably shouldn't have.
Okay, question I've got is if it, and I'm not sure pretty close, but if it was graded pretty close to what it was supposed to be, why all that standing water back there then?
I didn't see any standing water on.
Well, the photographs. Did you look at those photographs in the
no, I
packet?
didn't. But I think that's
you got
probably
that packet? I mean, they were huge, and the one guy said that the water was over the top, like they get mound systems and stuff up there. I mean, the photographs that he sent were kind of eye-opening, at least to me.
Yeah.
So
But I mean, to be fair about that, wasn't that after a 2-inch rain that those photographs were taken?
I
mean, you
think
gotta
that's
give them
gonna be
time for the drainage to work.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fairly normal.
But I think if you look, did you look at, and I only did this a couple weeks ago, but looked at Waukesha County GIS, and again, I don't even know for sure, what do they got? Is that 2015 topo or something? Which might not even be accurate, but on that, it looked like some of that, at least on the Waukesha County GIS, to my recollection, I thought it almost looked like entrapment areas that wouldn't drain. So that's all supposed to be moving to the east and then kind of hooking to the north?
Correct.
Does that go into that pond that was across the street from the behind property we looked at? I mean, is that?
No.
I
Going the
didn't
other
think
way.
so.
The other way, yeah.
I didn't think so, okay. Can you help me understand where it is supposed to go? I don't have a picture of that in my head.
It goes, if you remember how we drove away from that property to go to the next one, the
Right.
last one, there's a pond on the right-hand side, 2 blocks from there.
So that's to the east, the east and the north. Okay, I got it. Yep, got it.
Yes, sir.
Not getting ahead of ourselves, but if, and you're saying that's a 30-foot public easement, and if this gets ahead of where we're at, I mean, just for the minute, assuming that it wasn't graded properly in the first place, or private property owners altered it or what or not, where does that leave the village? Or, and if you don't know the answer to that, that's fine.
I think all we can speak to is the swale within the easement graded correctly?
Okay.
And I'll grant you there's probably some undulation in there, but I think in general it's graded the way it's supposed to be. There is going to be some ponding back there. That is the nature of water getting into storm sewers and culverts that are back there. The concerning part for me is the fact that these 2 houses in particular are partial exposures when they shouldn't have been any.
Okay. Okay, so that may be an issue. What about, I'm assuming, or assuming not, but they had septic systems or mound systems back there. Those couldn't, or at least shouldn't be in the public easement, I would assume, or what? Are they on the opposite
I
side?
think they're on the opposite side. That easement kind of runs through the middle of the backyard.
Okay.
And those septic systems aren't on the plat. I'm not even sure they're on the grading plan, but
Okay.
they're not supposed to be in that easement. That is correct.
Did you see any rhyme or reason when we walked back there and we looked kind of west or southwest? I mean, there was that whole raised,
Yeah,
thing in there? Do you have any explanation for that at all?
Those aren't supposed to be there per the grading plan. But
Okay.
my guess is that that was installed during construction as kind of a construction site swale berm to get
Okay.
water going where we want it to go, and they just didn't grade them out.
Well, I'm gonna do this so we can move ahead. Under valid concern or problem, I'm going with yes. Under need more information, I'm going with yes. Under village responsibility, I'm going with question mark. And under magnitude of concern or problem, at least based on those that I saw that overtopped, like septic system things, I'm going with a 3. So I'm yes, yes, question mark 3.
Can I ask you why you want to insert yourself into the middle of this from the position of being a representative of the village?
I'm not interested in inserting myself into the middle of it. That's why I'm questioning, my answer is any village responsibility is question mark, okay? So I'm not inserting into it yet, but I think to the extent that it's public easement and that type of thing, I think we need to find out how it came to be. But I'm at a question mark in terms of whether it's our responsibility at all.
That's my only reason for questioning it, is that it's, if there's an easement involved from the town, I guess, or village.
So what do you want for your 4 answers, Bob?
I've got, yes.
Okay.
Yes for more information, question mark for responsibility, and moderate for concern.
2. So I got you as a yes, yes, question mark 2. Mike, what do you want?
Well, I don't think there's village responsibility, so the rest you can just put NA.
All right, so we'll put NA on the rest of them for you.
If that would change over time, then I'd have to take another look at it.
Okay. All right, did we beat that one up enough? Okay,
Should make the next one easier.
well, I don't know. Desai S38 W22282 Auto Drive. I don't think there's anybody here, is there? I'm gonna just jump in to this one, and for me, the biggest, well, I'm gonna do it this way. Is there a valid concern or problem? I'm going with yes. Under needing more information, I'm gonna go with yes. Under village responsibility, I'm inclined, well, I'm inclined to go with a no for that at the moment. And I suppose the need more, excuse me, information, a question mark. Under magnitude of concern or problem, I think it's a 3, but the age on that, I don't know whether they have any recourse to it. Did you look at that? Is there drainage easement or anything behind there?
I
or
did,
what?
I was just gonna say
Well, maybe I should have asked that question before.
On the county's website, you can kind of weasel your way to some of the recorded documents, and one of those recorded documents is the plat for the Guthrie Station subdivision. Stormwater management notes on the plat place maintenance responsibility on the owners within the subdivision. The drainage easement notes requires the owners of the lots which have the easement to maintain the property to its intended function. So I screenshotted that and sent you an email of it on Thursday last week, and there's to me, a little bit of a maybe confusion as to who's really responsible for ownership, but it's not the town or the village.
So how is that different than the previous one we talked to?
Because that's an easement that is not public. It's specifically stated for maintenance by them.
So Arlo is specifically stated maintenance by them and Crestview is not? Or at least not what you could find?
Not what I could find. I
Okay,
mean,
fair enough.
It could be that Crestview, it could be that similar notes are on the plat for Crestview. I didn't see that,
That's
but
fine.
that could possibly be.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. if you look at that, I think, and assuming that's reasonably accurate, if you look at the topography on the GIS on that, I mean, I think it's like 2 feet or something like that, and 500 or 600 feet or what or not. I mean, if you want to believe the GIS, I don't see how that could really drain over lawn area anyway, and I suspect it's been that way for many years.
Yeah, it probably needs a good mowing. If you look at the aerial, it looks like that's pretty short grass,
Yeah.
you know, maintained as a lawn. And it looks like, well, my guess is that over time, there's been some siltation in there that made the water stand where it shouldn't and has made mowing the lawn back there tough.
Right.
And that just kind of exacerbates that problem.
There might, the property owner there on the corner of Arlo and Guthrie, they've got that pond behind there. I didn't quite understand the suggestion that, I mean, I thought that it eventually had an outlet. They suggest almost like an inlet, but that's got all kinds of riprap leading into it. It may very well be that some of that has got siltation in it that prevents that even from draining well from the east.
Yeah, I guess I'm not really sure how that drains other than infiltration.
Okay, well, I'm going with yes, it's a valid concern or problem. I'm going with no in terms of village responsibility, magnitude of the concern or problem. I'm gonna back that down to a 2, but I think that's a concern or problem. It's not the village's. And in terms of needing more information, I'm gonna go with a no. So I am yes, no, no, 2. What do you guys want?
I've got no for a valid concern. I can't go wrong with that. I think it's a retention pond. It's doing exactly what it was supposed to do.
Okay.
Same thing with me. I don't need any more information. It's not.
You
a village-
don't need any more?
No. it's
So
not-
you're no,
No, no, no, and not applicable.
No, 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 NA. Okay, Mike, what do you want?
Well, I don't think it's a town responsibility, so that's a no. So
All right,
beyond that, I'm not gonna determine whether it's a problem or a concern. I mean, they called us, I guess. you
all
could
right,
put it
so
as
you'll be
yes.
not sure on those others, okay. Okay. All right, at this point in time, we pushed Kurth and Melinda to the end of that. If you think those were not properly agendized, then I guess my suggestion is we probably ought not deal with them tonight.
If I may, I would like to talk about Melinda just because
All right.
the folks at Rolling Oaks are kind of looking for some, I guess, some
Okay.
guidance from us as it relates to the tree and kind of the completion of that road.
Mike, you object if he talks about it?
From my point of view, it's not on the agenda. And if Macy was sitting right there, he'd tell you can't talk about it, but that's,
All right, I guess you better not talk about it. We'll
I
deal with it
don't know
another
what
way.
to say.
All right. And Kurth, we won't talk about that either. We'll pick that up some other time or put it on the agenda. Okay, so we'll move on from there. We are at item 8.
You want on the July 9th agenda?
Sure. Is that okay, Mike? Put it on the July 9th agenda?
Whatever you'd like.
If I can speak,
Come forward, sure.
I'm Carrie Melinda, and
Come on up to the microphone, give us your name and address.
I'm Carrie Melinda, W254S5243 Primrose Lane, and I realized we were inappropriately put on the agenda. We really didn't even think that we'd be honored to be on the agenda over this road coming through our subdivision, but it is so, tomorrow, this will be a moot point. They've come as absolutely far as they possibly can. The New Berlin grading cannot go a foot further without some kind of input from the board. So is there any way that we can plead to just hear your opinions or thoughts?
Since I'm the one who raised the issue, I'll give you my 2 cents, and the president, it's his meeting, he can do whatever he wants.
Well, I would just tell you right now, I'm not gonna enter in any discussion because
Okay, well
it's
then-
your contention that this was not properly agendized, so
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but there's nothing more that I can say tonight. We may
That's
be
fine.
able to deal with this outside of the context of this meeting, but I have nothing more to say about it tonight. You can speak if you want to.
We do. So
And
we'll just tell them not to.
If you want to talk afterwards, or tomorrow, if you want to call me, I can be
We'll do
happy
that,
to explain
yeah.
my point of view.
Sure. We
Outside
can
of the
do that.
meeting.
We can do that.
Appreciate your understanding. Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Item G is discussion and possible action on a preliminary plan for the maintenance of 74 cross culverts were identified in 2016 to be 25 to 100% filled. I mean, it's on the agenda, we can talk about that. I already made mention of the fact that there's one more culvert on that. Jerry, did you guys look at that? Are we gonna number that one up and identify what percent that is filled or not? The one on Glendale? Okay, so when you get to that, we'll get to that. I don't have anything more to say about that at that point. Just a question, was that 2016, Kathy? Do we know that for sure? Okay, whatever it is, but that will be coming back on the agenda to be sure. Do either one, huh? What's that?
Doesn't seem that it was that long ago, but I'm the wrong guy to judge time.
I'm sorry, what?
I said it didn't seem like it was that long ago, but I'm the wrong guy to judge time.
Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna go with 2017, but I'd have probably lost the lottery on that. I don't know. All right, we can revisit that. Let's put that on for the second meeting in July, okay? Is that all right? Either one of you want to talk about that anymore? What's that? Are we gonna have a plan? No, we're gonna talk about, we're gonna put it back on for discussion at that point in time. And hopefully, we found one more culvert at least. We'll put one more culvert on there, right, Jerry? So we'll have that for July. Discussion possible appointment of, or we're at item 11H. Discussion possible appointment of Guy Kahn to the Fire Commission per Wisconsin State Statute 6213-1 for the completion of a 5-year term. Term ends April 30th, 2022. This position was previously held by Tom Kalinsky. I talked to Guy Kahn. He had previously served on the Fire Commission up until, I think, was it 3 years ago, Mike? You took his place, right? Was that 3 years ago, do you remember?
I did not take his place.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Okay, well,
And I think Tom took his place, ironically enough.
no, Tom went on last year, so that's beside the point. I will move the appointment of Guy Kahn to the Fire Commission for the completion of a 5-year term ending on April 30th, 2022.
I'll second it.
Does that, are we sure that
Discussion.
requires a vote? It does, okay.
Why do you think it wouldn't?
Because some things require an appointment and some things require a vote.
Well, this is
Okay.
state statute
All right.
6213-1. Do you want to get that out? Why don't you get that out? Let's make sure we're right.
The mayor shall annually, between the last Monday of May and the first Monday of May, appoint in writing to be filed with the secretary of the board, one member for a term of 5 years. No appointment shall be made which will result in more than 3 members of the board belonging to the same political party. Hold on. Exceptions.
Where are we at?
So it looks like it's an appointment. Would be an appointment by you. I don't see it saying that it's a confirmation.
I don't believe it requires a vote. I think it's just an appointment. That's how I recall from when I was placed on it.
I kind of
That's
believe that
why
I
I
was
questioned
too.
it.
I
Okay.
think when I was appointed, it was
I believe
appointment.
it's just
wasn't voted on either.
an
As
appointment.
opposed to the planning commission, which requires
All right.
confirmation.
Okay, that's fine. So that, let the record so reflect that I have appointed Guy Kahn to the Fire Commission for the completion of a 5-year term ending on April 30th, 2022. And as long as we're on that, and I know Attorney Macy was giving us some discussion or some guidance on it, item I, 11I, is discussion and possible appointment of a member of the village board to the Village of Big Bend, Village of Waukesha Joint Municipal Court Committee. Do you have that? And we can revisit that. I think it's two
board members of each of the villages would be on the committee. It's an appointment.
It says appointment.
I didn't read it word for word. It's just the, I have appointment on here to that position. So they are,
Well, maybe we should get that
hold on. let me get
document
the-
out and see exactly what it says. Let's do it right.
I'll go do that. If you want
Okay.
to move on to something else, I'll go look that up.
We'll wait till you're back.
You could talk about the fire.
We'll
chief
take a
safety.
quick comfort break for 5 minutes for anybody who wants a comfort break. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I'm gonna be, on vacation next week, so if you. Well, not really going anywhere, but if you guys make any decisions.
None of us are going anywhere.
That speaks to a lot of us, doesn't it?
But
Yes,
if you
it
guys
does.
make any decisions on that tree on Primrose,
Jessica.
I guess shoot me an email or get me a voicemail or something. I have some information on, moving the road so that it's not on a center line. It's doable, but it just needs to be properly plowed, and it probably should be monumented properly. They film it. But you'd be doing this to save a tree, which might not survive destruction anyway. Right. And if you do save the tree, at some point it's gonna die, and it's gonna be your tree to take down anyway.
Right.
So in my mind, I'm like, well, let's take the tree down
Oh, you mean the town would be on the hook for the tree?
later. So long, farewell, I'll be the same, goodbye. Well, he was evidently not. Right, well, Mike just said, someone wanted, you wouldn't know if we were gonna move the road by the agenda.
boat guy, right? You don't like him? I mean, at least it looks like someone's there, so we can hopefully no one breaks it, you know? You guys, oh, I wanted to mention, it looks like that banner the realtor had a blue down in the storm though. Yeah. I saw it this morning when I pulled in.
Pebble Creek was the thing out here by the bypass. Is that a continuation of it? Look at the water get there.
Has he had any good leads?
I always thought that was Pebble Creek.
It is.
So there's two of them, or what?
I can't understand that. I always call it Mill Creek over here,
I don't know.
but it's on the map that that's Pebble Creek also.
The whole building.
Called Pebble Brook. The one in Glendale is called Pebble Brook.
There you go. All right.
Yeah.
You find anything?
They have cooperative agreements.
What's that?
JPC consisting of 2 voting members of Waukesha. It just says that 2 voting members.
Okay, that's the joint planning commission thing, but we were back on
Joint plan.
thing here. No, the joint municipal court committee.
Oh, that.
See, you grab that one. But
I was
this is the
doing this.
one, I thought Macy said it was abundantly clear that that required, leave that out here anyway, but required, didn't he tell us today that that
Or that it was 2 people, 2
clear
voting
that it
members.
required board confirmation? Well, let Mike take a look at that, he can figure
You
it
can
out.
still visit, right?
Whether,
Why me?
when we get downstream to these,
I'm not giving legal advice. Macy will kill me.
we can share a common grave.
Do you want another one back or you just want me to shred it? Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Is
It
there a
doesn't hurt
reason
you,
these
or
can't wait
it
till
doesn't gain
Are
us
we
or
not sure
hurt
if
you, either way. I mean, that's right, but
Or
the,
confirm?
Yeah.
she just,
So we gotta
I
do
know,
those.
I talked to her on the phone.
Make sure we do them right, so she's
Thank-
got the ones out here
This
about,
isn't right.
she didn't do
I
it
mean,
right
we
again.
got,
So we applied under Jess and Kevin Inc. Because
I
that's
split
the new
these
name of
apart,
the
so we can do,
corporation.
we've got 8 of those for
Tally
the
Staff and Avery doesn't
joint
exist anymore. It's just like,
planning
you know,
and
like a
shared
small company.
services. So that's one question, but she got to dig the one out about the joint municipal court committee. And Macy was very
Yep.
clear that we make sure those get done right.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and then
Hence our conversation with Rick.
No problem. Thanks for working it.
Yep. Is your person here?
I told her where it worked because I saw
Yeah,
that we were
see, it
like.
was a long thing, yeah, okay. I'm gonna go get that other piece.
All right.
Are you here for the,
I'm here for my corrected license since they did it incorrectly the first 2 times now, and to discuss an employee. Yes. No, well, I don't know, I just, I mean, you know, she has letters showing that she completed her, counseling and stuff, and she's bringing with them. We both have, hers is like something like that. Pretty hard this time to get out, so she's, yeah.
Yeah, I'm half right.
I
Pebble
appreciate it.
Brook,
I'll just,
so it
I'll
gets
just
to
send her.
164, when it goes under 164, it turns into Mill Creek.
Let's switch into a
Do you
village.
believe that? Same
Our
creek, it's
village
got
is the
on one side of the road, it's named one, on the other side, it's.
Well, that make any sense?
Only thing I can think is Mill Creek, but they probably called it Mill Creek on that side, cause that's Wilson Wright, they had a sawmill there. Mill Creek, obviously.
So, you could generate enough water off of that thing to run a?
They had a sawmill there with the water and everything back in the day.
Seriously? Wow.
His, Wilson's dad ran it, basically, I think
Wow.
Wilson's it for a while. Well, they dammed the water up, is what they did.
I suppose that is source a lot of wood that built farms right around the local area?
Wilson kinda always was, that was pretty nostalgic for him, that whole sawmill.
Yeah. How much acreage did he own before he sold it off?
I believe he owned the land on the west side of 164, he owned the wetland and then with the creek, let's see. All the way up to the east of the house. So Wilson had a different perspective on building permits back in the days.
What's that?
So Wilson, I asked him about what he should name them. And he's remodeling our barn and stuff. What are you doing? And I told him, he says, I go ahead and do it. Things were different back in the days.
Yeah. It was a little simpler.
Yeah, I said even John Brunner, you know, he's coming to build a garage.
What does it say?
2 members are appointed annually.
It just says 2 are appointed annually.
Yeah, so support committee shall be comprised of 2 members from each member municipality.
Good luck. I don't envy you guys.
Come back. Page, this is even so
2 representatives from each municipality board as appointed annually by each municipality to form
as
a joint.
appointed. I'll just do that.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna resume here if we can. At 9:04, took a brief break there, and we are on item number 11I, which is discussion and possible appointment of a member of the village board to the Village of Big Bend, Village of Waukesha Joint Municipal Court Committee, and that agreement says the member municipalities authorize 2 representatives from each municipality's board as appointed annually by each municipality to form a joint municipal court committee. I think that's as close as we're going to get, appointed annually by each municipality. So what, Mike, what's your interpretation on how we should deal with that?
My interpretation of that would be we should ask an attorney.
Just appoint,
What's that?
I think we just appoint a member.
All right.
But the question is, though, is does the board appoint that? or-
Yes.
Yeah, and I believe that, to be on the safe side, Mike says talking attorney, but I think to be on the safe side, we could do that as a board.
So this should be, we will do this then as a board appointment. I will tell you that Tom Kalinsky, trustee Kalinsky, is willing to serve in that position, so I will move his appointment to be a member of the village board to the Village of Big Bend, Village of Waukesha Joint Municipal Court Committee for a term ending on April 30th, 2021, and I so move.
I'll second it.
Discussion. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so we'll move forward from there. J is discussion, possible action on the appointment of trustee Kalinsky to the Village of Vernon, Village of Waukesha Joint Planning Committee. And Kathy, you've got the verbiage on that, do you, in the agreement? I'm looking here at, not sure which agreement this is, but I think they're identical. Says the Joint Planning Committee, JPC members shall be appointed by and serve at the discretion of the town chairs and confirmed by the town boards for their respective municipalities. So it's an appointment with town, in this instance, village board confirmation. Anybody take issue with that? So I will then make the appointment of trustee Kalinsky to the Village of Vernon, Village Waukesha Joint Planning Committee, subject to the confirmation of the village board, for which we need a motion.
I will so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All right, then we'll try to move these quickly. 11K, discussion, possible action on the appointment of trustee Stigler to the Village of Vernon, Village of Waukesha Joint Planning Committee. I will appoint trustee Stigler to that position. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
I will second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is that 3-0? And we're kind of in crazy land now. Did you vote on your own appointment? I'm okay with that.
I did.
All right. You okay with that, Mike?
Well, yeah.
Okay. All right. 11L, discussion, possible action on the appointment of trustee Kalinsky to the town of McWanago, Village of Waukesha Joint Planning Committee. I will make that appointment. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll so move.
I'll second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. 11M, discussion, possible action on the appointment of trustee Stigler to the town of McWanago, Village of Waukesha Joint Planning Committee. I'll make that appointment. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 You getting all of these? Are we moving too quickly? You got them? All right. Then 11N is discussion, possible action on the appointment of trustee German to the Village of Vernon, Village of Waukesha Shared Services Committee. I will make that appointment. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
11O, discussion, possible action on the appointment of trustee Durr, the Village of Vernon, Village of Waukesha Shared Service Committee. I will make that appointment. Is there a motion to that effect?
I so move.
I
I'll
will-
second.
Okay, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. 11P, discussion, possible action, appointment of trustee German, serve on the town of McWanago, Village of Waukesha Shared Service Committee. I'll make that appointment of trustee German. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Go ahead, Mike.
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. 11Q, discussion, possible action on the appointment of trustee Durr to the town of McWanago, Village of Waukesha Shared Services Committee. I will make that appointment. Is there a confirmation motion?
I will make that motion.
I'll second. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
11R, discussion, possible action on the appointment of members to the village board of the tax increment finance district. Yeah, just, I think the explanation on that is, and again, we need not act on that at this point in time. Trustee Durr and I are members of the, the review board, joint review board, along with the representatives of Waukesha County, Waukesha Public School District, and Waukesha County Technical College, and we will continue on in those positions as the representatives of the Village Board of the Tax Incremental Finance District Committee, unless there's any objection. Okay, then we'll move on. S is discussion and possible action on the hiring of a part-time employee for the Department of Public Works. I think you are all mindful of the fact that our part-time employee left the village a couple of weeks ago. You should have a memo before you from Jerry Noli, references subject part-time employment. It's dated for today, and it says Brian Trapp, T-R-A-P-P, has worked for the DPW previously and comes with experience. Part-time employees will be limited to 28 hours per week. We'll be starting Brian at a pay rate of $19 per hour. I believe Jerry indicated he's available. Oh, you are here. Were you here the whole time? All right, come on up if you want to speak to that or not. I thought I looked out of there and didn't see you.
Yeah, we lost our summer help. Luke, who was with us for 2 years, we thought we would have him this year. Something came up where he's doing like an internship for college, so he's not going to be available. Then we hired a part-time, kind of a permanent part-time employee, which was Nick Thompson, and he moved on to bigger and better places, so we're in a need for a part-time employee. Brian was with us previously. He's got experience. He's got his, he doesn't have a CDL yet, but he does have a temporary permit, so all he needs to do is take a road test. He's got experience with the equipment. We could bring him on. We don't have to do a lot of training or anything like that, so my recommendation is we should hire him on.
All right, do you know what his availability is if we were to agree to this?
Immediately.
What's that?
He'd be available immediately.
Immediately? Okay, questions of Jerry?
We don't have to approve this, do we?
Do we have to make a motion to approve this?
I think we should.
I so move to go ahead and hire Brian Trapp as part-time employee.
All right, I'll
So we're gonna
second.
do that for all employee hires from now
We, other than fire department, probably yes. I think that'd be a prudent thing to do.
Fire
So-
commission does that anyways.
Right.
on? Right, I understand that.
Yeah. Yep.
So we're gonna do the clerks too?
What's that?
We're gonna do the clerks moving forward?
I think so. That may be a little bit different. I think she may have the discretion to do that directly. So that may be different. We can investigate that. That's not on tonight. I think that may be a bit different. Am I right? Clerk is different.
For deputies, I have the right to.
So then it's just for the DPW.
Would appear so.
Can I ask why the change? Without
Why,
any
what
dis-
change?
Well, I don't think we've approved previous
Well,
part-time employees. have
if you're asking my opinion, I think we should have been. So, I mean, we've had people hired on. Town board isn't even known who they are. I've known nothing about them, nothing about their qualifications, nothing about their rate of pay. So, I think we
Well-
should have done that in the past.
We did know about the rate of pay because we would approve a position. I mean, it is the town board's role, certainly, to
Yeah,
approve a
Mike,
position.
I'm not here interested to argue on it
Well, I'm
tonight.
not arguing. Why is it every time I ask a question, you think I'm arguing? We're making a change in policy. I'm wondering why we're making a change in policy. We have never approved part-time people for the DPW before. I'm just asking a question.
Do you think we should?
No, I don't.
Well, I do, and we've got a motion and a second to that effect, so you can continue with the discussion if you want.
Okay?
Who do you think should be doing that?
I think the DPW, I think when we create a position and set a rate of pay for the position, that is certainly a board responsibility. But for hiring a part-time employee, I would think that if we're paying a DPW director, that I would think would be his responsibility.
Okay, well, I think it's appropriate to have the board affirm that at this point in time. So we've got a motion. I believe you made the motion, trustee Stigler?
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
And I seconded it. Any further discussion? Everybody understand the motion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, 2-1 for hiring Brian Trapp.
So just so he knows, that would include plow drivers come winter too, right? I mean, I just want to make sure we're giving good direction to the guy who's got to do the work.
I don't have a problem with that, sure.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right, moving on. We are at item number 11T, discussion possible action on the program statement for new fire station. Patient Chief Buchholz, please come back up. We ask you to do this. Do you want to walk us through what you put together? We've got, I think, a single-page document, correct?
I'm hoping this is what you were asked for. I did a substantial amount of work with, or research with some other folks that have built fire stations in the not so distant future backwards. And these are the things that we compiled. When I say we, I worked with some of the other officers of the fire department. These are the components that we felt that a fire station should have. You want me to read through the list? I mean,
Not for my benefit.
I don't think it's necessary.
yeah,
Self-explanatory.
I said it's pretty self-explanatory, I think.
We had, sure, this was, and I don't know why I put it over there someplace, but this was kind of part and parcel to where we left off, I want to say in February. I think it was February, don't hold me to that, where we were exploring the idea of constructing a new fire station and moving the Public Works Department into the vacated part of this building that's being used by the fire station. I think, Jerry, we're putting some of your and Paul's work up there. Certainly give you a chance to jump into the conversation, but I think you were, I don't want to speak for you, but generally supportive of that as a facilities option. And that's why we asked Chief Buchholz to put together a project statement. We can ask questions of him. Go ahead.
In regards to the DPW?
What's that?
Were we asking questions of the chief or Jerry? We're talking about the,
Sure, either one. I was intending for the chief, but, I mean, Jerry's here too, so whatever your pleasure.
from my perspective, I went and looked at some firehouses 3-4 months ago. And what the chief has proposed here is pretty much standard as far as what I've seen on other, and they were newer buildings that were construction probably in the last 5 years, I'm guessing. I'm not sure the time frame on all of them, but that's kind of what's out there today being built for firehouses in that village or town the size of ours. So I don't think it's out of line, but I mean, I guess I got to get into the cost part of it and see what something like that's going to cost. Obviously, this is your wish list, so to speak, right? I mean, this is exactly what you would want and what's going to work, but I think it's a doable thing. I mean, it's a good plan. And
Okay.
I think the idea of putting the DPW in the old firehouse is exactly what should be done. far as tweaking any of that, I can't say that I would do that at this point until we get probably an engineer or architect rather involved in it at that point, and maybe tweak some things then.
Sure, go ahead, Kathy's got a question.
Chief, I just had a question. Is there a, you put all this together, is there a station that is actually out there that has exactly what you're looking for?
Like Bob said, most of the stations that are out there have all of these components in them.
Okay, so if they wanted to go and see one that would be just the size and the layout that you are looking
Well,
for?
none of them have exactly the size that, I shouldn't say that. The one up in the Dells has the size base, but I don't think you want to drive all the way up there.
Okay.
That station has a lot more than this, to be honest. That was a little over the top. But, local stations like Town of Delafield, Village of Wales, those departments are two that are close that are very similar to this.
Has there been any thought, seeing as how we have contract with the Sheriff's Department, is there any part of this building that can be used as a office for them, separate from the fire department? Has that been given any thought at all or not? I know we never gave you that direction, but I guess I'm kind of thinking that maybe that ought to be figured into this.
Could you just repeat the question? I didn't hear it. Or
I'm
wasn't
sorry,
paying
maybe I wasn't
attention.
speaking into the microphone, but I said, was there any thought given into our sheriff's deputy's office to have a place where they work exclusively without infringing upon the fire department? And maybe I don't know what place we have for the squad car, if that can be put in the DPW building or what, but I mean, something ought to be thought about going forward here if we're gonna do this, that should be part of the plan someplace along the line here, either in a DPW building, we give a sheriff an office in there, or something in the fire department, I don't know.
One of the thoughts that we suggested was that the sheriff could move into the office I move out of.
Okay, I mean, I guess that's where I'm going, is there some kind of thought process involved here to accommodate that?
My comment would be, thank you for putting this together. I think this is
a lot of thought into that.
I'm sorry. I think this is responsive to what we asked for. I think it's a good start. I'm a little bit taken aback a little bit on the building size, but I mean, the devil is in the details on that, whether or not that can be consolidated a bit. I'm going to end up supporting approval of this, but I mean, that's going to be with the reservation that if we move forward and this is turned into some preliminary architectural plans and so forth, maybe there's a way that some of these spaces get modified. They may be joint use. There may be spaces or provisions that are not included on this, so my support of this would be basically at a bit beyond a concept level, but I think it's generally heading in the right direction, but recognizing that this is something that's likely to be modified along the way if we move forward. Other comments or questions? Jerry, are you still come on up just real quick to the microphone. I want to ask you this question, but what you put together there with a vision of if we were to go this direction using existing space for the DPW, have your thoughts on that changed in terms of the appropriateness or adequacy of that since February, whenever that got put together?
No, that'd be fine. And there's, they have a storeroom down there that could be used for storage for election equipment for the clerk's office. Between that building back there and that building, I mean, he's got two offices. I'm sure we can make room for a sheriff's office or a squad car. I mean, I don't think that's an issue as far as doing that. because this building will be open. So I think that's completely doable.
Okay, thanks. Other questions, comments? Anything else, Chief? Okay, do you want to act on adopting or approving the building project program statement here for a new fire station?
Well, I guess some questions, what are we gonna be approving here? Are we approving that plan, or are we just approving the concept of the
Well,
go
I
forward
think,
with this at
I
this
think what
point?
is
And-
not on the agenda, for my perspective, it would, if we're inclined to do that, it would be approving this program statement of what would be included in the facility, and then I would anticipate next month, we would be looking at an agenda item to solicit or request for statements of qualifications from architects or design professionals.
Okay.
So that they would take and begin to translate this into some preliminary drawings. So that would be kind of the logical step along the way if we're going to head this direction and keep this moving.
Well, if it requires a motion to go ahead with this, I guess I would make that motion. I want to keep this thing moving if we can find out what it's gonna cost and.
All right, so your motion would be to approve the program statement for the new fire station as presented by Chief Buchholz, dated June 25th, 2020. That's a motion.
Yes.
All right, I'll second. Any further discussion? All right, if you're ready to vote, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed?
All right, 2 in favor and 1 opposed. Thank you. Okay. I'm sorry, what?
No changes to the capital plan are needed?
Yeah, no changes to the capital plan. If we proceed next month and look to hire a design professional or something, we might be allocating funds to do that, so there's nothing on 11U tonight, right?
Right.
Okay, then 11V, update on road maintenance, slag, crack fill, and patching bids. We got to move on that and move on that now. I got a little bit behind on doing that. I've cleaned up some of that bid solicitation stuff. Kathy's swamped with office staff, so Paul is going to help clean some of that up. I will help with that if it needs to be. The goal on that needs to be to have that done hopefully by Monday, Tuesday at the very latest. We need to pick a bid date and be out for bids for that for a couple of weeks so we can get this under contract. If it's under budget and stuff, we need to get that under contract in the next couple of weeks or we're going to lose this season. So that's just kind of an update on that. We'll have Attorney Macy take one last pass through it. If he's got any issues, and go from there.
I'm questioning, I thought the bids were out. They're not out?
No, they are not.
Oh.
So they got to go out immediately.
Yes, they do.
Yep. Discussion, possible action on the quote on construction stickers for address signs. Kathy, you want to run that one through?
I was asked to get a quote on what it would cost to get the exact same paper or same sticker put on each of the signs. I asked Lang if they had a number of signs that were purchased for the town residents. They do not have a number, a final number. So what we decided to do was figure out a quote on 1,000 decals or 1,000 signs, which would be 2,000 decals, because one goes on each side of the sign. The decal would actually say the full word, the full Village of Waukesha, and not just Village, because it would be hard to line it up. They've got a quote of $2.85 a piece.
Okay. Discussion?
Well, I think we have to do something one way or another. I mean, the signs are incorrect as they're out there now.
Are we interested in paying? We're looking at just on the $2,700. Are we interested in paying that cost, or are we interested in the $2.85 times 2 from each person who would come in to purchase it?
If you're asking me, I guess just at the moment, it isn't a real high priority for me. I don't feel super strongly about it. I mean, to try to, well, then the question is, who puts them on, or people putting them on themselves? I mean, we got, from my point of view, plenty of other work to do with the DPW. I mean, are we having people coming in and right now checks are handling cash? I mean, that's going to be a busy thing. I mean, I guess at the moment this isn't a high priority for me, but I'm open to suggestions.
Well, my vision is we could do it one of two ways. Either way, in my vision, would be for the people to be responsible for putting the stickers on themselves. I'm not interested in paying the labor costs to have somebody drive around and put all those stickers on. I'm a bit undecided on who should pay for it. I could probably be persuaded either way. But it would, you know, if the town decides to absorb the cost, then we would just make an aggressive effort to let people know, you know, through the website and discussions on the residents' communications and things like that. Hopefully over a couple of months, everybody gets the word. They start to see them, they come here, they pick them up, they put them on themselves. If we decide that the residents are gonna absorb the cost, I'm sure the clerk can handle the $5 and what have you.
I guess the question that I would have, and it's been a lot to think about it, but I mean, would we then require everybody to do that? That's where I get a little bit hung up. Somebody says, I don't really want to do that at any cost or go to the effort or what or not. I mean, are we going to require everybody to do it? I mean, we don't even know, right now, we don't even know where all these signs are, do we?
I mean, that's a great question. I guess my position would be that if as a board we decided to require it, then we should pay for it. And if we decided to make it optional, then we can leave it up to the resident to pay for it.
I guess my point, I'm agreeing with Mike, I mean, if we're gonna do this, I'd say it's gotta be done and then we pay for it. But before this, I was kinda on the fence like you were about whether we do or
Have
don't.
them pay for it?
No.
Have us pay
If
for
we
it?
say you gotta put this on, if you've got an existing sign that says Town of Waukesha, we require you to put Village on there, then the town pays for it. But they
Okay.
come in and do it. I'm all on board with the idea that we don't hire somebody to go out and put these up, but
No, I agree.
I don't wanna get involved in that. But I think that if we require them to put Village of Waukesha on their signs, that we suck up the cost on it and pay for it.
We could do that, and what I'm saying realistically,
But I'll be honest with you also.
they're not all
Brian-
going to end up on there, and maybe
No,
that's not that
no.
big a thing.
I would be in favor of waiting a few months to make this decision one way or another, because obviously we have 2 board members missing, and I'm on board with what you said. I don't know what the rush is about right now at this point to do it immediately, but.
I don't mind waiting either
don't
way,
either.
but given the other discussions that we've had tonight about moving down the road, I think this would be another step in moving down the road.
I guess I would like, I guess I would like to.
I agree with that, but
Yeah,
it's not
you know,
necessary, but I mean, it would make a statement.
It's not necessary, and I'm
Right.
not saying that it is, but it's just another one of those things of moving down the
Yeah,
road.
yeah, I agree.
So, if I may,
Go ahead.
this would, if the town was going to buy these, this could be something that could be put in the capital project budget for January, if you were of mind to wait that long.
Well, here's the thought. I mean, if we were of a mind to wait that long, regardless of what budget it came out of, wouldn't the best way to communicate this to village residents, wouldn't that be in our tax bill thing where we put pamphleted kind of thing into there? Wouldn't that be the best way to reach the most people? Or have our kind of a newsletter thing?
That's one way, but if you want to get it done quicker for other reasons, kind of mentioned, I guess we would have to do it before January.
But how would we communicate to people other ways? I mean, unfortunately, we just don't have that many people that are electronically connected. We're sure not going to send out a separate mailing or anything for this, right? I mean, put it on the website, but there's a lot of people don't even look at it.
Well, I'm not, they don't have to have it all in by November. We can
Right.
have it out there by, they can take a year before they decide to put them up. I don't know that the residents have to have a required date that they have to have them up, but I mean, once you get the word out via email, on their taxes, however you want to do it.
Okay.
Over the course of 6 months, I'm sure every resident's going to figure it out, and you're going to start seeing the neighbors put theirs up. Pardon me?
Yeah, once they see the new.
Right, yeah, I mean, they're gonna say, how did you get that, and word will spread.
If we were to say, go ahead and do this now, money would come from where? Where would we take the money from? You know?
I was not asked to do any other digging in other than
Well, that's fair.
getting the decal.
No, I get it, and
Because
I mean,
That's a good question, though, I guess I'd kinda like to know where this
The-
money's gonna come from for that,
I
too.
mean, maybe we
that.
could look at it again next month when everybody's here and then decide where we take the money
I
from.
think
Yeah,
that's
I
a
think
good
the
idea.
discussion came from, a resident came and asked about if the village was going to replace all the signs, and this was
Yeah.
the possibility of just changing the sign
Yeah,
without
Mike
the
brought that up, and I think that was a
extra
better
cost.
idea, is to change to get a decal or whatever
Right.
to do it that way. It's cheaper.
So are we all kind of on board? Does any of us support replacing all of those signs at village expense? I don't support that.
I just, like I said, I would sooner table this till next month.
Okay.
and we don't have to
You want to
this
make a
decision.
motion to that effect?
Yes, I would.
All right, I'll second. And that kind of ends discussion. All in favor of tabling this matter until the meeting on July 23rd? Is that right? All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay. 11X, Kathy, that's you.
Right, so I wanted to just start the discussion on the 2021 budget. If you remember last year, I had set up a full calendar of when we would meet and start working these things out. And I had asked you in an email this year if you'd start thinking about it. We used to do Thursdays, opposite Thursdays of, opposite of our regular board meetings. We would have these budget meetings and try to get through a couple line items as we went through the budget. But this last year, you decided you wanted to do a longer meeting. I've talked to other municipalities, they actually prefer to do one big, long days meeting to hash it all out. And I just wanted to get a feel before I start writing a calendar together, get an idea, do you prefer shorter meetings and many of them, or one long meeting, or a couple very longer meetings?
I
4
prefer one
hours?
short one, and that's it.
Yeah. One short meeting? I'm up for that.
What time of the year are we talking here? How soon did you,
We start,
when do we start that?
yeah, we start our capital budget, we start that in July. We start talking about your capital projects and for
Yeah.
2021. And then we need to have everything completed by, in September, October at the very latest. So if
I
we
don't
did-
remember, we never did day meetings on these, did we? Long day meetings? We
No.
did them all at night, right?
I don't think so.
No.
Either way works for me. I just want to know what direction you might want to tip your hat, so I know how to start the scheduling.
I'll just, I guess, put it all this way. If we're going to do capital and operating budget, I would hope that we could I would hope that we could do that in 2 meetings, 3 maximum.
I agree.
That would be my
Yeah, that would be good.
goal or expectation. Does that give you any sense of direction?
Mhm.
Mike, your thoughts?
Opposite Thursdays, okay, of our meetings? Or did you want to add it on to our regular meeting? Well, we can't do that. We used to do that.
Depending on the length of the agendas, I would almost opt for adding it onto our regular meetings, but that remains to be seen. What about you guys?
I've got Thursdays booked every Thursday of the month booked between here and other commitments, so.
All right, so Thursdays aren't good for you?
No.
All right,
Okay.
I can start and setting up a couple ideas, and then I'll bring it back to the board.
All right, that gives you enough direction? Okay. All right, why is discussion possible action on operators licenses? Sorry that you had to sit here so long, but come on up, Jessica. You guys, you can introduce yourself.
Can I just start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the list in front of you are all renewals. We've had, if you remember Dustin Davis, we had last year, and he has not had any infractions. That would have been one of the ones that might have been highlighted this year, but Jessica has
Serena
one.
Sapansky is actually a new license, but you are correct with the rest of them.
Which one was the
this
new
last
license?
one?
Serena Stepansky.
Okay, yeah, that was.
Okay, so
she
that one's
slipped that
new.
on last,
All right.
yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
Oh, well, I guess I just, if there's questions to be asked, we're here to answer whatever you'd like.
Thanks.
Or if there's any issues with anyone in particular besides Pearl, I'm happy to answer on their behalf.
Okay.
Okay, and that Pearl is with you?
This is Pearl Hess.
Okay, very good, welcome. Okay, gentlemen.
Any questions?
Why don't you explain to us quickly even why you're here, Pearl?
Back in November.
Get real close to the microphone, we want to hear you.
Sorry, I'm short.
You can
I
pull
can
it
bend
right
it.
down.
Oh, cool.
There you go.
Back in November, I was arrested for a citation of possession and possession paraphernalia. Since then, it is due to COVID. It's been reduced to disorderly conduct pending my ADOA, which I do have a letter regarding that, and I do have a letter from the city that my court date kept being postponed because of COVID, and then my ADOA was being postponed. So it really should have been completed before now, but due to the setbacks, it hasn't. But I do have a letter that is showing that I'm doing my diligence to make up for.
Okay, are you leaving copies of that letter with us here tonight or no?
We're able to, if we're able to make copies, sorry.
I can make a copy.
Mhm.
We can do that?
Yep.
Okay. Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the operator license. Would you like them read into the record, or is reflected in the minutes adequate?
I think can we simply say there are a total of,
369.
are there 13 in
13.
total?
Yep.
Does that look correct, Jessica? Is that a accurate and complete list? I don't think you have to read them all into
Okay.
the record, Mike.
For the 13
That
people
seems
listed in
accurate.
the
I'm
agenda.
sorry, what?
That seems accurate.
Okay. Okay,
You made the motion?
I did.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't quite, I wasn't watching this. Yeah, I second it.
okay, so the motion is to approve the operator licenses for the 13 operators that are listed on the agenda. Any further discussion? So the motion was by Supervisor Durr, second by Trustee Durr, Trustee Stigler. Getting late in the evening, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you both
Thank
very
you.
much. Okay, so we have What's that? Yeah. Action, thank you, action on accounts payable. Kathy has given me the total of that would be $94,690.31. Is that correct? 94.
94,670.
I'm sorry. 94,670.31.
I also move to approve the payment of the bills and amount
Okay.
of uses.
Second.
All right, then we need to do that by a roll call vote.
President Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Dur?
Aye.
Trustee Stigler?
Aye.
Okay, that passes unanimously, and
I move to adjourn.
Second.
the motion was made at 9:46 by trustee Stigler, second by trustee Dur to adjourn. All in favor, give by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all. Thank you, audience. How are you, sir?
I am well, thank you.
Good.
Yourself?
Fine, thank you.
Good. Fire station,
Yes.
that will replace the current one?
Yes, and that proposal is instead of building sleeping quarters and stuff and adding onto the fire station and building garage space in public buildings, instead of doing two things, it'll be pricey, but it would be to build one, probably, the other side of the asphalt there, one new fire station, and then the public works would move into the whole fire station space there. So it would be, I mean, it would be one project. They pretty much say that would be pretty much ready to move in without change, without modification. So that's one concept, a way to try to do it. Because we have really significant needs in both areas. So it's trying to solve those issues.
Right, okay. Yeah, I wanted
So.
to make sure it was, or I wanted to find out that it was additional.
No. We looked at that,